Yeah, we know you looked up how to do this quest, but we're just gonna play it off like you stumbled on in. But of course, most of us will have talked with Travis before coming to the Beantown Brewery, and if that's the option we chose, then when we enter the building, we find him standing next to us. However, this time he has nothing to say, because of course he already said it back at the inn. Now, the Beantown Brewery is the headquarters for our raider boss called Tower Tom. However, I killed Tower Tom and cleared this place of raiders in a previous video. If interested, you can check up on that story by clicking here. If Tower Tom is gone from the Beantown Brewery, then instead we find Bull and Gouger in the room Tower Tom once occupied. They apparently brought with them a bunch of raider friends to try and get money out of Vadim. Surprisingly, Travis is pretty good in a fight. I ran off and killed Bull and Gouger, and he managed to take care of a few raiders by himself. Way to go, Travis. Once clear, we can go back to the boss room where we find Vadim tied up and kneeling on the ground.
Thank you. I didn't know if anyone would come. I thought perhaps this is the end. Thank you. You are a true friend.
Are there more of them? Are they gonna come after you again?
No, this was best they could do. You got them.
You're an idiot for dealing with these goons in the first place.
Fine. Was not smartest move ever, but all is better now.
You're welcome, Vadim. We weren't gonna leave you to these guys.
You are a good man.
We can talk about it later. Let's get moving.
Yes, I would very much like to go home. These idiots had caps and chems just lying around. They did not notice when I filled my pockets. You deserve what I took. And Travis, I am surprised to see you here.
Hey, Vadim. I'm glad you're safe.
How did you get roped into this?
I wasn't forced or anything. I wanted to help.
You are full of surprises, my friend.
With that, Travis and Vadim walk back towards Diamond City. If we didn't loot this place when we cleared it earlier to kill Tower Tom, we can go ahead and loot a steamer trunk and a couple of safes, and then either back at Diamond City, or if we intercept them here, we can check in with Travis.
Man, what a day, huh? Hey, listen. I wanted to say thanks. This has been... well, it's been crazy. But I've learned a lot, I think.
I hope so. I'm tired of your shitty, whiny attitude.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah. You're not cut out for this. Stick to the airwaves.
This is all just another day for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. Not me, though.
You came through it all pretty well, Travis. That's good to hear.
Thanks.
In my opinion, it's a miracle you're alive.
What are you gonna do now?
Well, that's what I've been thinking about. After all this, I think about the things that had me worried so much, and it just seems silly, you know? Like, was I really that worried about just being on the radio? That's nothing compared to being beaten up, shot at. I can do so much more. And I need to. Anyway, thanks again. I owe you.
With that, we complete Confidence Man, and Travis saunters off a changed man. Look at him go. What a guy. Back at Diamond City, we can see how Vadim's doing.
You staying out of trouble?
You are checking up on me? I love it. Do not worry. I have cut ties with anyone who might try to kill me over debts. All is well, friend. Relax.
Now, like most NPCs in the game, we can, at any time, just kill Travis. If we do, Shane Kowalski takes over the microphone.
Hey, so, that Travis guy is dead. This is Shane Kowalski, seller of fine water products, and I guess I'll play the music from now on. If you're looking for music, you're in the right place. If you're looking for quality bottled water, come see Shane Kowalski. Just 'cause Travis is dead don't mean we shouldn't all enjoy some music. And if you'd like to enjoy some fresh, clean water, you know where to find me. Which button was it? This one? No. This one? No. What about this one?
But if we complete Confidence Man and we leave Travis alive, we find a very different host the next time we tune in to Diamond City Radio.
Travis Lonely Miles here, bringing you Louis Jordan with Keep a Knockin', which is what you've just got to do until the damn door opens.
Next is Worry, Worry, Worry by the Three Sons. I'll admit it, this pretty well summed me up. At least until recently. Ladies, I bet every one of you out there knows a man like the one Betty Hutton sings about. He's a demon, he's a devil, he's a doll.
Now let's hear from Bob Crosby with Happy Times. This is a favorite of yours truly. It reminds me that life is as happy as you're willing to make it. Here's Ella Fitzgerald with another classic, Undecided, which is something I used to be quite often. Then I made up my mind. Decided to be cool.
If there's someone special in your life, then this next song is for you. If there isn't, feel free to take this opportunity to resent the happy couples around you. Here's One More Tomorrow.
This is Travis Lonely Miles bringing you Johnny Mercer's personality. Something I only recently acquired, as I'm sure you're all aware.
I think we can all agree that it doesn't get any better than life in Diamond City. So this one's dedicated to us. It's Bob Crosby, Dear Hearts and Gentle People.
Travis has unique things to say depending upon whom we decided to side with at the end of the game. If we chose to side against the Institute, he says,
You know, an old friend once told me, you gotta always fight the good fight. It looks like someone we know did just that.
which is of course a reference to Three Dog. He described the man as his friend, which means at some point in his life, Travis must have met Three Dog. Does that mean Three Dog is alive and well in the Capital Wasteland? Did Three Dog visit Boston, or did Travis visit the Capital Wasteland? Maybe Travis came from the Capital Wasteland. If so, that might have made him a child during the events of Fallout 3. Them being friends may also help explain why Travis's music selection is very similar to Three Dog's. There's no way that Travis could be the lone wanderer from Fallout 3 because his personality is so different. The canon ending of Fallout 3 is the one where Lion's Brotherhood of Steel is victorious, and they couldn't have been victorious without the help of the Lone Wanderer, and for the Lone Wanderer to have achieved many of the things he or she did, he would have had to have had a much different personality than the one we find in Travis. At any rate, the next time we visit Travis in his trailer, we get a thank you from a very confident man.
Travis,
You think the radio sounds better these days? I'm not getting nearly as many complaints. Things with Scarlet didn't really, work out. But that's fine. I haven't forgotten what you've done for me.
Now, I don't know about you, but I preferred the old Travis. The new Travis is great, don't get me wrong. Every time I turn on Diamond City Radio after completing this quest, I get a laugh because his confidence is so forced, it's so fake. It doesn't feel convincing at all, and that in itself is funny. But I prefer the original Travis. I think that's who he really is, and it's okay to be a meek and timid individual. When we listen to the original Travis, he's honest and he's not afraid to express fear about the news of the day, the happenings going on in the Commonwealth. And he has sarcastic things to say about many of the pre-war songs. The new Travis is just full of fake charisma. It sounds like he's trying just a bit too hard to appear confident. So in every playthrough after my first one, I made sure not to complete Confidence Man, so that I could retain the original Travis Lonely Miles. But what about you? Which Travis do you prefer, the original or the remake? And how did you complete the bar fight? Did Travis lose? Did he win? Or did you kill Bull and Gouger? And who do you like more? Three Dog, Agatha, Mr. New Vegas, or Travis? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. If you want to make sure that you don't miss my next video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook if you want to keep up to date with any changes I need to make to my production schedule. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. I take Sundays off, folks, so that means I'm not going to have a video for you on Monday. But never fear, I'll have a brand new video waiting for you Tuesday morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you Tuesday morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.
You wouldn't hit a girl, would ya? Damn it!
In yesterday's episode, we discovered the location of Vault 92 after scouring the ruins of the Vault-Tec headquarters. The directions pointed us to the old Alney area of the Capital Wasteland, which is today a ruined town infested by Deathclaws. We were sent to Vault 92 by an old woman named Agatha. If we walk a short distance northeast of the Meresti metro station, the secret base of the family, which we explored in a previous episode, we eventually find a traveling merchant with his mercenary and pack brahmin right outside the entrance to a rickety bridge. Traveling across the bridge, we find a small path between two large rocks that ends at a white picket fence. We arrive at the front garden to Agatha's house. Immediately to the right, we see what appears to be a radio transmission tower. It's quite a tall structure and appears to be in working order. What is a radio transmission tower doing by this tiny old shack? Outside, she has one tiny garden gnome, and the entrance is lit by two lights, but one doesn't work very well. At night, it flickers and makes loud buzzing sounds. The front door is unlocked, so heading on inside, we see a tiny shack. But where's the owner?
I assure you, there's nothing valuable here.
Oh, there she is.
My. You certainly do look a little bit worn out from your travels. Oh, just look at my terrible manners. I'm Agatha. It's so nice to meet you. Now, what brings you all the way out here?
Now, as we will soon see, we have the option to be extremely rude to Agatha. We can start rather mildly by responding, "I prefer to keep my business to myself, and I suggest you do the same."
Well, I see you have manners I'd come to expect from a wasteland dweller. All I've done is offer you safe harbor in my home. No need to get testy with me, young lady.
We have two options here. The rude option is to say, "Whatever, Grandma, like I care."
That's just about all I'm going to take from the likes of you. When you walked in, I thought you were different than the normal riffraff that crawls out of the sand. I see now that I was wrong. Come back and talk to me when you decide to be more civil.
And we lose karma.
No, I'm sorry. I tried to be nice to you and you decided to make fun of me. Well, this old lady doesn't put up with those shenanigans.
But if we'd rather talk with this nice old lady instead of being rude, we can respond by saying, "What brings me out here? That's funny. I was about to ask you the same thing."
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm just fine out here. My husband, rest his poor soul, saw to it that our house was well protected from the elements and the inhabitants of the wastes.
Well, I'm just out here exploring.
Honestly, there's nothing much out here. Looking for sand? Rocks? We have plenty of that. You're welcome to look around this area, of course. Don't let me dissuade you. I'm just trying to save you some time. My husband built this place way out here for a reason. Rest his soul.
Oh, your husband's dead? I'm sorry.
Well, that's kind of you to say. Yes, he's gone. After he built this place, we spent many happy years together. We decided to cut off contact with the outside world and just depend on each other for comfort and company.
I take it you don't get many visitors then.
Apart from supply caravans, you're the first person to set foot inside my house in a long time. It's not for lack of trying at this point, mind you. I'm just far off the beaten path. Living in this isolation protects me, but it has also made me very lonely.
Or we can just be absolutely horrible to this poor old lady and say, "Oh, boo-hoo. People die all the time."
Well, that's the most insulting thing anyone has ever said to me. Here I offer my hospitality, and you spit it right back in my face.
Which dumps us back to the alienating dialogue tree. Instead of saying, "Whatever, Grandma," we can apologize and say, "I'm sorry. The heat must be getting to me. My apologies."
My husband told me once to always forgive and forget. I suppose I should take that advice now. Rest his poor soul. Consider the apology accepted, and your harsh words forgotten.
You know, a frail old lady like yourself should be careful out here all alone.
Old? Yes. Frail? No. I can still hold my own if I have to. My husband made me learn a thing or two about how to defend myself.
Surely you haven't severed all contacts.
Oh, goodness, no. I have a supply caravan that passes here maybe once a week. I trade with him for whatever I need, and I stock up enough till they return.
An old lady all alone, huh? Got anything valuable around?
Watch the sass, Captain Sassy Pants.
So you trade with them? But this place is empty. What, are you a prostitute or something?
That's disgusting. I'm old enough to be your grandmother. I won't have that kind of talk in this house.
Well, what could you possibly have to trade?
Besides shelter? Well, I offer something in the way of entertainment. I play songs on my homemade violin and people trade me goods.
That sounds risky. What if the caravan never arrives?
Well, I always have my husband's old radio set to fall back on. I used it once in an emergency when a group of raiders was getting a bit too close for comfort to my house. Otherwise, I use it to broadcast my so-called music I play from my homemade violin.
So your husband's radio can broadcast across the entire Capital Wasteland?
Yes, my husband was very proud of the setup. He tinkered with that thing for years to get it working. I've tried to use it to get whatever I need, but I've never gotten a reply.
You built your own homemade violin, huh? That's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Well, my husband had his hobbies. I'm afraid mine was making that sorry instrument. I only wish I could replace it with something better.
We can then pass an intelligence check to say, well, I guess a homemade violin is never quite in tune.
Oh, you are a clever one. Yes, that's exactly the problem that I have with it. It doesn't quite play all of the notes correctly, and I have to constantly tinker with it.
Let's cut to the chase. Is there something you need?
You're very blunt. Not always a good trait, but sometimes it is the best way to get things done. My trading depends on my violin. Without it, I have nothing to play, no way to make music. If you can bring me a violin, a better one, I'd feel much more secure.
A violin? That's hardly something that would have survived the war.
Yes, very sad, isn't it? Sad to think that no more musical instruments will ever be made the old way ever again. Well, fortunately, I know where perhaps the last real violin in the world exists. If you give me your word that you will recover it, I will tell you more.
I'm interested, but what will you give me in return?
As you may have already guessed, I really have nothing of value. Material value, that is. All I can offer you is the same I offer the caravans that trade with me. The frequency of my radio and the promise of beautiful music.
Now we have quite a few options here. If we have a male lone wanderer, we can pass a lady killer check to say, "If only you had something to keep me safe, my little honeybee."
Oh my, I didn't know I still had the looks. Well, you just made my day, you sweet thing. Let me give you something extra to help you on your way.
Or we can pass a charisma check to say, you seem like a nice woman. Let me go ahead and get that violin for you.
Well, that's just so sweet of you. I feel bad sending you off with nothing like this.
Or we can pass a 100 speech check to say, I want to help you, but that type of search could cost me greatly.
You have a point. Perhaps I've been neglecting needs that you might have and being selfish.
Or we could pass another speech check to get the same result in a rude way and say, look, Granny, talk is cheap, but getting stuff isn't.
You have a lot to learn about dealing with people, young lady. However, you're right. I need to think of your needs, too. I have a small amount of ammunition that my husband left behind. A box of odds and ends. I don't think I've opened it in years. If you do this for me, you're welcome to take whatever you need.
No matter what option we chose, we get the key to her husband's ammo crate. All right, Agatha, I give you my word that I'll do my very best to recover a violin for you.
Oh, I don't think I've been this happy in years. As promised, here's the key to the ammunition box. It's right under the radio table. Before you leave, I have some information that may help you, at least a place to begin. It all starts with my great-great-grandmother Hilda back in 2077, before the bombs fell.
Now we've been chatting with this lady for almost 10 minutes. We can express our frustration by saying, more stories. Oh.
You know, my mother always said, a handful of patience is worth more than a bushel of brains. However, if you are that eager to get going, I'll skip the story.
Or we could nudge her to hurry things along a little bit in a more polite way by saying, sorry to interrupt, but where can I find the violin?
I'm sorry, I know I tend to ramble. Comes from being lonely. If you insist, I'll get right to the heart of the matter then.
Or we can be pleasant company and encourage Agatha to tell her story. So Agatha, you have records from way back then?
Of a kind, yes. Hilda sent a good deal of letters to my great-grandmother Mary, who passed them on, and so forth. I suppose the correspondence could be considered a diary of sorts.
2077? I can't even imagine that long ago.
It certainly is a long time. That precious instrument has been through a lot. Anyway, Hilda was quite a special woman, classically trained and exceptionally talented at the violin. Her pride and joy was her Stradivarius violin. I can only imagine how exquisite this instrument must have been. When the war reared its head, she was invited by Vault Tech into Vault 92. They claimed the vault would be dedicated to preserving musical talent.
We can answer sarcastically by saying, so, what am I supposed to do? Scour the entire wasteland asking about violins?
Manners are not your strong suit, I can see this will be a purely business-related transaction. So be it.
Or we can be straightforward and say, any idea where Vault 92 is located?
That's the catch. I have no idea where it is. I'd suggest making our way to Vault Tech headquarters in the DC ruins. That would be a good place to begin. Good luck!
With that, Agatha marks the location of the Vault-Tech headquarters on our map, and we begin the quest, Agatha's Song. The key she gave us opens up the ammo crate underneath the table that has the ham radio on top. We can then loot quite a stash of ammunition, including a mini-nuke and a missile. If we walk a short distance northeast of the Moresti metro station, the secret base of the family, which we explored in a previous episode, we eventually find a traveling merchant with his mercenary and pack Brahmin right outside. If we walk a short distance northeast of the Moresti metro station, If we walk a short distance northeast of the Moresti metro station, the secret base of the family, which we
Vault Tech into Vault 92. They claimed the vault would be dedicated to preserving music,
including a mini-nuke and a missile. The ham radio on her table must be the one she uses for her violin broadcasts. I would love to hear her play, but for now we have a job to do. And we can talk with Agatha again for a little bit more guidance.
No luck yet finding the Swa Stradivarius, eh?
I'm still looking, but don't give up on me yet.
I understand. I haven't given up hope. I know you'll find it.
Hey, tell me a bit more about your great-great-grandmother.
She was quite a special woman. Hilda was her name. After she entered Vault 92, the bombs fell. And the story, as I know it, ends.
What do you know about the Swa Stradivarius?
Not too much, I'm afraid. It was fabricated way back in 1714 by a famous Italian craftsman named Antonio Stradivari. He had made a bunch of Stradivarius violins, actually, and each one was individually named over time to identify them. They are regarded as the most outstanding instruments ever made, and no two sound alike, they say. Incredible! Since the bombs fell laying waste to most of the world, it may be safe to say that this could be the last surviving violin of its kind.
How will I know the Stradivarius when I see it?
Well, from my great-great-grandmother's diaries, I have deduced that she had a special pressurized case created for it. Hopefully, the Swa Stradivarius was in the case when she... well, you know.
She gives us a photograph of the Swa Stradivarius. We can examine it in our Pip-Boy, and sadly it's monochromatic. But we do see the outline of a triangular, violin-shaped case with a glass front. However, if we know a little bit about musical history, we know that a Stradivarius is usually a deep reddish color. Stradivarius used spruce wood to construct the top, willow to construct the linings and the internal blocks, and maple wood for the back, neck, and ribs. Is the Stradivarius worth a ton of caps?
I hope you're not thinking of doing anything dishonest. You gave me your word.
The Stradivari are indeed priceless instruments. In 2010, in our own world, a Stradivarius named Molitor, which was rumored to have belonged to Napoleon, sold at auction for $3.6 million. In 2011, another Stradivarius violin named Lady Blunt was sold at auction for $15.9 million. Do you have any information on Vault 92?
I'm sorry. I wish I did. All I know is that Vault Tech intended it to be a protective environment for the world's musical talent. When the bombs fell, the vault was sealed and the rest is a mystery. Perhaps when you find it, you can find some sort of a record of what occurred inside.
Well, can you tell me anything about the Vault Tech headquarters?
From what I gather, it's located in the ruins of D.C. I got the location from one of the supply caravans. They told me it had extremely high security and something they call a mainframe inside. I'd imagine it's quite dangerous. I'd be careful if I was you.
Thanks, Agatha. I'll be on my way.
Watch yourself out there.
We find a music stand next to her table, but no sheet music on it. I suppose she must play everything by memory. We also don't find the homemade violin that she talked about. There are a lot of tin cans on the ground. Agatha's not quite as tidy as I'd expect, and she has a nice big double bed to the southeast, likely the same one she used to share with her late husband. Or who knows, maybe she is a lady of the evening and her outrage earlier was fake. In the southwest, she has a tiny bathtub, and in the toilet we see a teddy bear playing with a race car. I would have taken this for Marie, but sadly it's set to owned, and I'd rather not steal. There's a unique lamp in this room. Agatha uses an old rusted bucket as a lampshade right next to her sink. She has 3 containers to the northwest, a box, a dresser, and a refrigerator, but there's nothing terribly interesting in any of them. Strangely enough, she does have a nuclear toxic waste warning symbol as a piece of wall art, but we have no indication where this came from. Her house is not irradiated, and we don't find any radiation sources near her house. But now we need to find Vault 92. We need to discover its location from the Vault Tech headquarters. To find the Vault Tech headquarters, we need to travel to Vernon Square. We've already been to Vernon Square if we explored DuPont Circle after meeting Three Dog at GNR, or if we explored the Statesman Hotel and the Our Lady of Hope Hospital, both of which are located in Vernon Square. To find the Vault Tech headquarters, we need to walk to the northernmost edge of Vernon Square. There we find two large ruined skyscrapers and an alleyway hidden behind the remains of a big blue truck leading north between them. This path is blocked by a slew of super mutants.
Thought I heard that. You like that? Over here. Yeah, you want some of this?
On the other side of the alleyway, we find a small encampment behind sandbag barricades. Here we find a shelf filled with Rad-X and a first aid kit next to two ammunition boxes. After looting the ammunition boxes, we'll likely get rushed by two more super mutants from the south.
Your own blood?
This area is patrolled by one more super mutant, and we find the entrance to Vernon Square North to the northeast. We see that it is guarded by two rigged shotguns on a nearby bench, which we can deactivate for the experience, and at last we find Vault-Tec headquarters towering above us to the east. This is quite an impressive ruined structure, with the words Vault-Tec spelled out vertically on the face of the building, ending in the Vault-Tec corporate logo. I don't believe that this was the company's global headquarters, but rather a regional headquarters. This was the base of operations for Vault-Tec in DC. For after all, we do find a Vault-Tec headquarters in Boston as well, but that must be the regional headquarters of Boston. We already know from Fallout lore that the global headquarters of Vault-Tec was in Los Angeles. Our task then is to explore this rotting ruin to discover the location of Vault 92. We will turn this entire building upside down in tomorrow's episode. So if you don't want to miss part 2, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook for Oxhorn updates. That's where I announce any video production delays or let you know when I need to skip a day. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning with episode 2. In yesterday's episode, we stumbled across a rickety bridge to find the lonely shack occupied by the widow, Agatha. She makes a living by playing music for traders on her homemade violin, but her music could be better, and so she asks us to find the Swa Stradivarius, a beautiful ancient violin that used to be owned by her great-great-grandmother, Hilga. Before the bombs dropped, Hilga was admitted to Vault 92, a vault set aside to preserve the world's best musicians. However, the location of Vault 92 has been lost to time. Agatha suggested that we head to the Vault-Tec regional headquarters here in DC to see if we can uncover the location of Vault 92. We find the rotting ruins of the Vault-Tec headquarters in the northeastern corner of Vernon Square. Upon entering, we arrive at a lobby, dimly lit by spotlights still shining from the ceiling. A thick mist permeates the room, and we hear the sounds of gunfire coming from the southwest. Super mutants had entered the building and awakened their pre-war security robots. We managed to clear them, but it looks as if we may have to fight more security robots as we explore further. We see that this lobby must have been resplendent in its day. We find large framed paintings all over the lobby's walls, but sadly they have been cut away or rotted by now. The lobby is a bit of a ruin. There's a northwestern staircase which has collapsed, and we see a staircase leading to a basement, but it has long since been filled with rubble. We see 3 terminals on the reception desk, along with telephones and cutlery, but the terminals are decayed and no longer work. The northwestern door leads to the ladies' restroom. The stalls are all empty except for the one to the northwest. Here we find a ruined Protectron sitting on the john. Poor little guy, caught in such a compromising position. Heading out, we can explore the men's bathroom to the southwest. Here we see that the super mutants had begun to move in. We find gore bags littering the floor, one in the stalls and one by the urinals. And on the wall we see a sign, Vault-Tec will be there. There's another staircase leading to the basement to the southwest, but like the northwestern one, it also is completely caved in with rubble. All the other hallways and doors leading out are completely blocked, leaving the staircase to the southwest our only avenue forward. However, before we go up, we see something interesting hanging from the ceiling. It's a vault door, but not just any vault door. This is either a spare or a reproduction of the vault door to Vault 101, our home, the place where we grew up. I suppose it's comforting to know that Vault-Tec was proud of their work at Vault 101. Heading back up the southwestern staircase, we see a door behind us to the east and a cafeteria section to the west. Heading west, we pass through a bunch of tables and chairs in disarray to loot a Nuka-Cola machine before entering the kitchen. The kitchen is quite a mess, but we do find a refrigerator filled with all sorts of food, including one Nuka-Cola. Aside from that, there's not much else here, so to move forward, we need to pass through the door to the east. This leads to the Vault-Tec corporate offices. Upon entry, Sharon immediately picks up the scent of an enemy. He marches off ahead of us, only to discover a sentry bot. And then a Mr. Gutsy rounds the corner. At the top of the stairs, we find ourselves in a hallway. We can go left or right. We hear the sound of some sort of machine moving around in the next room. So creeping around the corner to look into the eastern room, we continue to hear the noise, but we don't see anything. Until at length we see movement coming from the hole in the ceiling.
Where? Keep them pinned.
With that sentry bot destroyed, the noise stops, and we can safely explore the ruins. The room we've entered is empty, save for some ruined shelves and rubble, and it opens up into a northern room through a big hole in the wall. Here we see that the ceiling has completely caved in, revealing a room on the second floor. There is a door against the northern wall of the second floor room, but with the floor gone, I'm not sure how we'll get there. We can then start looting these containers, a couple of toolboxes, a few other small metal boxes with randomized loot inside, and we find an easy locked safe to the northwest. Inside, we find a stash of 256 bottle caps. Not a bad haul. On our way out, we can loot a pre-war book sitting on a garbage can. That's 100 caps from Scribe Yearling, and a first aid kit sitting on the rubble of the second floor. But otherwise, this is a dead end, so back out the hole in the wall, we can continue forward by heading through the eastern door. As we pass through, we begin to hear the noise of a robo-brain.
Why don't you just come out where I
Maybe I'm just jumping.
We can turn left or right. Turning right, we can turn right again to go down the hallway, which I think is going to connect back to the entrance. We see an Etotronic to the left, but it's completely empty. And next to this is a men's restroom, but this also is empty. But as we back out of the bathroom, we hear a Mr. Gutsy shouting at us. We just can't seem to be able to walk around without attracting the attention of the security robots. So to get rid of this guy, we can head out of the bathroom, turn east down the hallway, round the corner to the south, and then follow it as it turns back towards the east. Rounding this corner, we see that Sharon is already on the scent. We can follow him down another eastern hallway, which leads to a staircase with the Mr. Gutsy. And a robo-brain. Sharon continues upstairs to get rid of another Mr. Gutsy. with that, we should finally be able to explore in peace. So heading back downstairs to finish exploring, we can turn into a western room, which we walked past earlier. Like the room with the safe, the ceiling of this room has collapsed, filling it with rubble. After looting the various containers, we can leave this room by the door to the north and walk across the hallway to explore the adjacent room. This was a series of office cubicles, but sadly none of the terminals work. However, we do find some dirty water and stim packs on a shelving unit to the northeast. Through a hole in this wall to the east, we can pass to another office cubicle, and heading out the doorway to the northeast, we can enter a ruined hallway, which leads back around, which leads us in a complete loop. With that, we finish exploring the bottom floor, and we can head up the stairs to explore the top floor. Turning north down the hallway, we see that the northernmost opening is blocked by rubble. The hallway turns west, but let's explore this door in the middle of the western wall first. This door leads to the room that was above the big ruined room that we just explored a moment ago. Turning around and heading west, we can explore the northern room, which is mostly empty, save for a Nuka-Cola Quantum on the bottom shelf of a shelving unit to the north. This room connects to another one by a big hole in the wall to the east. Here the floor has crumbled in an L shape, but if we're careful, we can sneak around one of the corners to the northern side of the room. There's not much here, but we do see a shelf against the wall to the southeast, and we see a big book of science laying on the shelf. It took me a couple of tries, but I was finally able to get the big book of science by leaping on top of this ruined refrigerator and jumping up and down until I got it. Backing out of this room and going left, we can go down the hallway until we find a door leading to the first ruined room we found. But this leads to a floor that doesn't lead anywhere, so we can go around the corner to find this hallway blocked up with desks, chairs, and filing cabinets. This is a dead end, so retracing our steps, we have to pass the room with the Nuka-Cola Quantum to our right to turn left down a hallway. This is the only way forward. We see a room to the right. It has the ruined sentry bot that we shot at through the hole in the floor near the beginning. The only thing of interest in this room is a door to the north. This is the door we saw when exploring that room with the pre-war book and the first aid kit. The floor is almost completely gone. We have to find a way to sneak around to get to that door, but it's a bit tricky. I was finally able to do it by walking to the northwest. We see some wood laid out to provide a bit of a ramp to go to the northwestern corner. We can then turn east and scoot along until we find the door. After opening the door, we find quite a stash of goods. Ammo boxes, stealth boys, scrap boxes, even a laser pistol, a first aid kit, just a whole lot of goodies. Backing out of this room, we see a staircase leading up to the south. This must be the way we need to go, but before we go that way, we can turn west down another hallway. This leads to a door to yet another bathroom, but there's nothing in this bathroom. We find a Nuka-Cola machine with some Nuka-Cola Quantum inside, and then this hallway leads to a dead end, completely blocked up with rubble and ruined furniture. With that, we finish exploring the second floor, so we can go down the southern hallway, where we find another intersecting hallway, but this one is blocked at both ends, so instead we can continue forward by going up the southern stairwell. This leads to a door at the top of the third floor to Vault-Tec administration. And immediately upon entry, we get attacked by a ceiling-mounted turret and a robo-brain. Robo-Brain came from a room to the north, but before we go down that, let's explore this hallway to the south. To the left, we see a stairway up to the fourth floor. Okay, so that must be the way forward. To the right, we see an Eatronic, and inside we've got a stim pack and some mentats. So to finish exploring this third floor, we need to turn around and go through that room with the Robo-Brain. Here, we find two working terminals on a desk. The first is the turret control system, and next to it, the Systems Operations Station number 3. Inside, we find 3 categories. In the first category, Important Bulletins, we find 5 company-wide bulletins from Vault-Tec. And the first one, Message 009AC Security Notice. Due to repeated attempts to obtain protected Vault-Tec information, the following security procedures have now been instituted. Number 1, shutdown of the VTMB-01 master brain requires authorization from all 3 system operator terminals. Number 2, all materials of a sensitive nature have been removed from external terminals, and access to the mainframe room requires authorization from all 3 system operator terminals. Okay, so we just learned 2 important things here. The first is that there appears to be a master brain in this building, and to shut him down, we have to access an option from 3 system operator terminals. And the second thing we learned is that there's a mainframe room in this building, which again, we can only access by gaining authorization from these same 3 system operator terminals. Well, the terminal we're reading right now is a system operator terminal. It was labeled number 3, so presumably we can get one part of the 3-step authorization from this terminal. Number 3, all mechanized security is now handled by the VTMB-01 Vault-Tec Masterbrain 01 Masterbrain via security uplink. Please do not tamper with this unit without an authorized service technician present. I see. So this Masterbrain controls all other robots in the building. Presumably, if I were playing a stealthy character, I could sneak through this whole building and deactivate the Master Brain to turn off all security robots. But I'm not playing a stealth character, and I'll probably end up killing all of the robots before I even meet the Master Brain. Next up is 0099D vending machines. Once again, someone has been tampering with the vending machines in the cafeteria. This practice violates section VT00987/A in volume 17 of the Employee Handbook. If the machine malfunctions or does not dispense its contents properly, please refrain from kicking, shaking, punching, hitting with a fire extinguisher, or filling the coin slot with fecal matter. Oh no! These are very specific instructions. What kind of Vault-Tec employee would fill the coin slot of a vending machine with fecal matter? How could that possibly help? In the next one, message 0101C bathroom breaks. It has recently come to our attention that employees are abusing the liberal breaks policy as outlined in section VT00733/D in volume 18 of the Employee Handbook. As a result, Human Resource and Administration have come to an agreement on a reasonable time reduction. As of today, all bathroom breaks will be reduced from 2.37 minutes to 2.25 minutes. Holy cow! Vault-Tec was timing bathroom breaks? This is horrible in a number of ways. Some people just need longer to do their business. This could lead to health problems, like urinary tract infections. In the next one, message 0102A Vault 112 done. This is just a quick announcement to let you know that work on Vault 112 has been completed, sporting the latest and greatest in Vault technology. Way to go, Techites! The latest and greatest, eh? Well, I wonder if we'll ever be able to find Vault 112 and explore this Vault technology. It's interesting to note that internally they refer to each other as Techites. At least, the HR department does. In the final one, message 0114D Vault 92 changes. The following item has been added to the Vault 92 requisition request. 14 WMB type noise generators, 14 broadcast relays, and 14 monitoring terminals. If these changes are in error, please contact the supplies and planning department immediately. Vault 92 is the very vault we are looking for. We already know from Agatha that rumor was that Vault 92 was supposed to be a place to preserve musical talent from before the war. This may explain the things we find in this requisition request. 14 broadcast relays. Maybe they had planned to broadcast music played by their inhabitants across the wasteland. WMB type noise generators, WNB type noise generators, NB noise, B broadcast, W white noise broadcast? Maybe the broadcast relays were for broadcasting internally among the vault. Does this mean they were broadcasting white noise? Why would they need to broadcast white noise in Vault 92? And what's with the monitoring terminals? Were they spying on the private lives of their own inhabitants? This has made me a little bit more uneasy about what we might find at Vault 92. Backing out of this category, we find exactly what we expected. The first option is Mainframe Station 3 Access Approval. After selecting it, we get a notice, Access Approved. So we've just unlocked one of the 3 locks necessary to gain entrance to the mainframe. Presumably we'll find the location of Vault 92 from the mainframe. The final option is Master Brain Shutdown. After selecting this, we get Station 3 Master Brain Shutdown approved, and the security procedures are added to our Pip-Boy as a note. Now, we destroyed that ceiling-mounted turret just a moment ago, but just in case there are others on this floor, we can hack the turret control system terminal to deactivate all turrets on this floor. And it's a good thing we did, because passing through the western door, we walk right into another ceiling-mounted turret. Rounding the corner leads to a jail cell? What? Turning off our Pip-Boy light and heading down this hallway, we arrive in some sort of server room. We are surrounded by large, hulking mainframes. The computers are so large that they take up the bulk of this tiny room. We have to navigate down tiny little hallways to get around. But we don't find any terminals, no way to access what's on these computers. Looking up, we do see another floor, or at least catwalks up here, and peering through my scope, I do see a monitor up there. Okay, that must be where we must go. So backing out of this room, we can retrace our steps until we find that staircase that led up to floor 4. Sharon again gets a wild hair and sneaks ahead of me to attack whatever enemies we might find here. And it just so happens that he completely destroys the Master Brain before I even got there. The two of us then got rid of a ceiling-mounted turret. Well, I applaud Sharon for his tenacity, but I was really curious to see if this Master Brain had anything to say. So reloading a previous save, I left Sharon behind and had a chat with the Master Brain.
All non-essential personnel are to be removed from premises. The administration level is off limits to non-essential personnel. Intruder alert. Contacting Vault-Tec security. Proper Vault-Tec ID not present. Engaging target. Prime directive. Protect Vault-Tec data.
The Master Brain patrolling on this level is just a unique robo-brain. It has the words Vault-Tec and the Vault-Tec logo emblazoned on its chassis. And though it has the same voice of a robo-brain, it has unique dialogue pertinent to this building.
Continuing intruder countermeasures.
I didn't find the Master Brain any more difficult than a typical robo-brain. Just a few shots from my Master Blaster did the trick. With the Master Brain destroyed, we can activate the wreckage to access the Master Brain's internal mechanisms. If we destroy its uplink, it'll cause all of the automated security units in Vault-Tec to shut down. We can do nothing or destroy the security uplink. With the Master Brain destroyed and all of the robots turned off, we can now explore the rest of the Vault-Tec ruins in peace. Heading back to the top of the staircase, we can open the first door directly in front of it to the west, which leads us to another server room. Here we find System Operation Terminal Station 1. The first option is all of the same important bulletins that we read previously, and the final one is Mainframe Station 1 access approval. Notice that the Master Brain shutdown that we found in Terminal 3 on the floor below is gone. That's because we've already destroyed the Master Brain. With that, we've gained access to 2 of the 3 keys we need to unlock the mainframe room. Backing out and turning down the hallway, we can take the first right, where we find another terminal called Vault-Tec Employee Terminal. Here we find all the same bulletins as we read earlier, with 2 new sections. Employee Store, where we find a bunch of items for sale. A baseball cap, a t-shirt, a leather bomber jacket, a golf tee, a drink cozy, a lunchbox, and a bobblehead. Each time we click on one, we get a notice that the cost has been deducted from our paycheck. Enjoy! Except for when we choose the bobblehead. If we choose bobblehead, we get a notice that the bobbleheads are only available to executive level employees. Well, Vault-Tec sure made it easy for their own employees to spend their hard-earned money on Vault-Tec paraphernalia. Of course, whatever delivery system they used to deliver these goods to the employee has long since disappeared, so we don't actually get anything from choosing these options. The final option is to page employee, but we see that the internal paging system is offline. Backing out of this room and continuing down the hallway, we see the Master Brain we destroyed earlier and a doorway to the right. This leads to another workstation where we find the System Operation Station number 2 on a desk to the southeast. Here we see all the same important bulletins, and we can choose Mainframe Station 2 Access Approval. With this final bit of access approved, we can open the door to the mainframe. But But of course, first we have to find the mainframe. Further exploring this room, we find 2 Vault-Tec lunchboxes on a desk to the northeast, which is great for making bottle cap mines at any workbench. And you see that wall safe behind the filing cabinet? That is actually part of a mod. So ignore that, it won't appear in your game. To the northeast, we find a little supply closet with even more Vault-Tec lunchboxes. For those of you who spec into explosives and really enjoy your bottle cap mines, this is a great place to hit. Here we also find a first aid kit. Backing out of this room, we can open a door to the southwest right behind the wreckage of the Master Brain, and inside we just find a bunch of consoles and other computers. Nothing we can interact with. Backing out, going down the hallway, we find another restroom to the right. I guess they had to have a whole bunch of bathrooms on every floor if the employees only had 2.5 minutes for a bathroom break. We don't find anything in this room, so back out, we can go down a hallway to the left where we see a Mr. Gutsy patrolling. Now, we wouldn't see this guy patrolling if, after destroying the Master Brain, we also destroyed its uplink to the other robots. But remember, I reloaded a previous save to show off the Master Brain up close and personal, and at this point in my recording, I hadn't destroyed the uplink yet. This Mr. Gutsy looks like he was guarding some sort of executive room, but before we explore it, we can open a door to the east. We find another room with consoles and computers, but nothing else. At the end of a hallway, we find a turret control system terminal. We can hack it to shut down the turrets, which is a great thing because rounding the corner, we find the turret. But before we go down this hallway, we'll retrace our steps and go into that executive area. We find a big reception desk where we can loot the ash pile of the Mr. Gutsy, and we find 2 offices, possibly the offices of minor executives. The room to the north is empty, and the room to the south has a copy of Grognak the Barbarian on one of the desks. When done, we can go back down that hallway that had the ceiling-mounted turret and open up a cage door leading to a hallway. This hallway is bathed in green light, which I believe tells us that we've successfully unlocked the door to the mainframe. And we can walk across the catwalk to access the Vault-Tec mainframe terminal. You have accessed the Vault-Tec mainframe. We only have 2 options: to do nothing or to download vault locations and access codes. With that, we download the locations of every single Vault-Tec vault in the Capital Wastelands, and in so doing, we discover the location of Vault 92. We also learn the names of all other vaults in the area: Vaults 87, 106, and 108. At this point in my exploration of Fallout 3, we haven't explored any of these vaults yet. Looks like we have a whole lot to do. But taking a look at our world map, we can see where the location of Vault 92 is, and oh my goodness, it's way, 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 way up at the northernmost edge of the map, right next to Old Olney. Well, that doesn't make sense. I explored the snot out of Old Olney in a previous video, and I didn't see any door to a vault. How could I possibly have missed it? To leave, we retrace our steps. Instead of turning right down the hallway where we killed that Master Brain, we can turn left. Here we find a door to another bathroom, but again, nothing inside. So instead, we can go west down the staircase. Remember, we are on the 4th floor, so we take this staircase all the way down to the bottom floor. It's a bit of a trip. At the very bottom, we find a door to Vault-Tec Guest Relations. This brings us out to that little balcony in the entry room where we killed that Protectron. Remember, we couldn't access this because the northwestern staircase was destroyed. But we're here now, and we find a Nuka-Cola machine and a whole bunch of tables laid out in cups, plates, and Vault-Tec lunchboxes. I got excited seeing all of these mugs. For a brief moment, I thought I was playing Fallout New Vegas. I was going to start collecting these for Muggy, but then I realized there's no point. We can walk away with a couple of boxes of sugar bombs for the unmarked side quest Sugar Bomb Run. We find some Mentats on a counter by some coffee machines to the southwest, and a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky vendor lying on the table to the northwest. To leave, we can hop down through a gap in the balcony railing to the wrecked staircase and head out the front door. Now, we know the location of Vault 92, but we still have to find the entrance. Since we explored Old Olney with a fine-toothed comb in a previous video, the entrance to Vault 92 must be hidden. We will discover the entrance to Vault 92 and uncover the horrifying experiment that went on there in tomorrow's episode. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss our next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I announce any and all changes to my production schedule on Facebook and Twitter. So if you want to keep up to date with everything Oxhorn, consider following me on social media. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for Episode 3, Vault 92. Our search for the man who shot us leads us to the small town of Novak. Inside the big Dinolite gift shop, we find a sniper at the top, in the mouth of the dinosaur, named Manny Vargas. He has the information we need, but he's not willing to give it up for free.
Well, listen, I can definitely help you find him, but I've got problems of my own. Maybe we can do a trade. You need my help. There's something I need, too.
What do you need?
Novak, it's home for me now. I want that to be for good. I like it here, and I've left too many homes behind. But the only resource we got here is junk. Without that, people wouldn't have anything to trade. They'd all have to leave. We get most of it up the road from the old rocket test site, but a bunch of ghouls showed up one day and took it over. We can't get in there now.
Why don't you deal with it?
I would, but I've got to watch the road. Caesar's Legion has been taking territory just east of here. They took Nelson. If we let our guard down, they might attack. All it takes for the Legion is for them to sense weakness.
What needs to be done?
Well, they gotta go, or this will be a ghost town before long. Doesn't matter to me what you do. As long as the ghouls are out of there, that's good enough for me.
Okay, I'll see what I can do about it.
It'd mean a lot to me.
With that, we begin the quest, Come Fly With Me. This, of course, is a reference to a Sinatra song, but the significance of the name won't be revealed. In yesterday's episode, we stumbled across a rickety bridge. Agatha. She asked us to retrieve her great-great-grandmother Hilda's old violin, an antique called the Swa Stradivarius. During our conversation, she told us a little bit about Vault 92, but she didn't know much. All she said was that the vault was dedicated to preserving the musical talent of pre-war America. As an accomplished violinist, Hilda was admitted to Vault 92, but that's where her story ends. What actually happened there is a mystery. To find Vault 92, we can leave Old Olney and head due west. Eventually, we see a big pile of rocks, and the earth slopes down, creating a path between them. At the end of the path, we see a big wooden door. This is the hidden entrance to Vault 92. Inside, we see the dust of ages floating through the air. It's possible that Wastelanders might have taken refuge in this entryway cave at some point. We find tin cans and milk bottles littering the entrance. But the strange thing about this vault is as we approach the door is open, but it's not ruined. If we activate the switch just outside the door, it rolls in place. Since these vault controls were securely locked by Vault Tech after the bombs dropped, this tells us that the vault was opened from the inside. Perhaps the original dwellers escaped, or perhaps they were convinced to open the door by people with evil intent. Heading through the door, we immediately see a table filled with all sorts of goodies. A laser pistol energy cell was admitted to Vault 92. Actions pointed us to the Old Olney area of the capital wasteland, which is today a ruined town infested by deathclaws. We were sent to Vault 92 by an old woman named Agatha. She asked us to retrieve her great-great-grandmother Hilda's old violin, an antique called the Swa Stradivarius. During our conversation, she told us a little bit about Vault 92, but she didn't know much. All she said was that the vault was dedicated to preserving the musical talent of pre-war America. As an accomplished violinist, Hilda was admitted to Vault 92, but that's where her story ends. What actually happened there is a mystery. To find Vault 92, we can leave Old Olney and head due west. Eventually, we see a big pile of rocks, and the earth slopes down, creating a path between them. At the end of the path, we see a big wooden door. This is the hidden entrance to Vault 92. Inside, we see the dust of ages floating through the air. It's possible that Wastelanders might have taken refuge in this entryway cave at some point. We find tin cans and milk bottles littering the entrance. But the strange thing about this vault is as we approach the door is open, but it's not ruined. If we activate the switch just outside, it's admitted to Vault 92. Curious. During our conversation, she told us a little bit about Vault 92, but she didn't know much. All she said was that the vault was dedicated to preserving the musical talent of pre-war America. As an accomplished violinist, Hilda was admitted to Vault 92, but that's where her story ends. What actually happened there is a mystery. To find Vault 92, we can leave Old Olney and head due west. Eventually, we see a big pile of rocks, and the earth slopes down, creating a path between them. At the end of the path, we see a big wooden door. This is the hidden entrance to Vault 92. Inside, we see the dust of ages floating through the air. It's possible that Wastelanders might have taken refuge in this entryway cave at some point. We find tin cans and milk bottles littering the entrance. But the strange thing about this vault is as we approach the door is open, but it's not ruined. If we activate the switch just outside the door, it rolls in place. Since these vault controls were securely locked by Vault Tech after the bombs dropped, this tells us that the vault was opened from the inside. Perhaps the original dwellers escaped, or perhaps they were convinced to open the door by people with evil intent. Heading through the door, we immediately see a table filled with all sorts of goodies. A laser pistol, energy cells, a blood pack, fission batteries, and 2 first aid kits. That's a whole lot of gear to find right at the entrance. I wonder why it was here. Heading up the stairs and turning right, we see a little check-in room that's typical in these vaults, but this one is blocked up with shelving units. Sharon heard something moving around on the other side of the main door, so he went ahead and opened it to kill a bloatfly. Before entering the vault, I wanted to finish exploring this entryway, so moving to the northeast, we see a couple of tables covered with ruined terminals, but on one of them, we find a holotape, Professor Malleus Audiolog V9201.
So far, the experiment is going exactly as planned. We are subjecting the residents to extremely low-frequency white noise in regular intervals through the loudspeaker system. Using the soundproof recording studios and the musicians was an inspired idea. Kudos to the Vault Tech Selection Committee on their shrewdness.
Now, as we pass through the main door, we had to deactivate a proximity mine. This is our first clue that something bad must have happened here. We find 3 doors in this room. To the south, a door leading to the atrium. To the east, a door leading to the lab and classroom. And to the west, an unmarked door. It looks like whatever placard had been on this light has since fallen off. First, let's go to the atrium. We open the door to find another room guarded by a rigged shotgun, but the strange thing about this is that the tripwire attached to it is on the ground by the door at the opposite end of the room. If these vault dwellers were trying to protect themselves from outside invasion, you'd think the shotgun would be pointed the other way. But no, whoever set up this rigged shotgun was trying to protect himself from dangers within the vault. Opening the door brings us to the hallway, and the first thing we see is a skeleton lying on the ground next to an empty metal box and a note right by his hand titled Feedback Loops. Okay, pass this on after you get it. Gotta keep this crap off the intra-vault mails. If you can hack the control panels, use their noise flush feature to spook the crazies. Works okay and it's kept me alive these last 2 days, but they're starting to catch on. We need to get organized and make an attempt for the vault door. It's our only chance. So, some of the vault dwellers did try to escape. But from what? This poor fellow on the ground here must have failed, but presumably some succeeded, since we found the door open. The note mentioned crazies. Are the crazies invaders? Or could it be that some of their own members became crazy? To continue, we go down a staircase, at the bottom of which we find another frag mine. This hallway ends at an average locked door. Unlocking it leads to the atrium, which is infested with bloat flies. After killing all the bloat flies, we can explore this atrium to discover the remains of some sort of battle. We find skeletons lying on the ground with centuries-old blood splatter still smearing the floor. The residents had used the tables in this atrium as barriers. There are many doors on this ground floor. Let's explore the clinic to the southwest first. Inside, we find a locker on the ground with 50 bottle caps and some recon armor. There are 3 more lockers to the northwest, but they're empty. Heading out, we can then go through the southeastern door. This leads to one closed-off room. There's no way out of here, but we do find 2 skeletons huddled together to the northeast. They are surrounded by what is presumably their own blood splatter. We find another poor soul just outside this room, on the ground behind more tables and chairs used as a shield. Next, let's try going through the southern door. At the end of a twisting hallway, we find a staircase that leads up to the second level of the atrium. On this level, we find 3 more doors. The door to the northwest leads to an empty room, so going across the catwalk, we find a skeleton on the ground before the door to the northeast. This door is locked with an average lock. After picking it, we find a store. It's mostly picked clean, but we still find a few goodies. There are some energy cells on a shelf and some minor junk on the others. Behind the counter, we find some darts on a bottom shelf and 2 ammunition boxes. Beneath the boxes on the bottom shelf is a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky vendor. On the counter, we find the supply shop terminal, but it's locked with an average lock. After hacking it, we find 3 vault intramails and the option to unlock a wall safe. The first message was from Gordy Sumner to Richard Rubin, the overseer of Vault 92. Gordy Sumner must have been the owner of this terminal. He says, "This is the 5th time I've requested that you allow me to release our supply of headphones and personal audio listening gear to the residents. It seems unfair that residents are required to listen to their music selections in the studio rooms. I have an ample supply of the type of equipment that would allow most residents to relax in their beds and enjoy their musical recordings. Please let me know your reasons behind this matter." So, this is a musician's vault, but they weren't allowed to listen to music in their bedrooms? It seems strange. Clearly, Gordy agreed if he sent this email to the overseer. And the next one, Gordy sent an intra-mail to all vault residents. "I am pleased to announce that we now have strawberry pudding available in the vault store for 10 work credits. The supply is very limited, of course, so hurry down and get some before it's all gone." Oh, even after the apocalypse, vault dwellers had some tasty luxuries. The final message is from shop owner Gordy to Dan Kabacheski. "From your last meal, it seems we have a deal. I'll give you everything on your list in exchange for the weapon we discussed. Things are getting worse in this vault with almost half of the residents going crazy. I just want to be prepared. Don't worry, I'll lock the gun in my safe so no one can easily trace it back to your department." So it wasn't an external threat at all. The residents themselves were going crazy. What could have triggered almost half the vault residents to go mad? We can use the final option to unlock the safe, and sure enough, just as Gordy said in his terminal, we find a weapon. 2 laser pistols to be exact, with a wide selection of ammunition and a small stash of chems. Heading out of the store, we can go south and through a door to an empty room. But this room leads to the overseer's office. Passing through, we find a door to the left, and it looks like this door had crushed someone. We find a body under the door, swimming in its own blood. And right next to this is another corpse lying on the floor. The door to the south is locked with a very easy lock, and picking it leads to a long hallway, where we find more evidence of a battle. Tables and chairs turned into makeshift barriers. The door to the southeast leads to a bedroom. Here we find 3 beds and a couple of containers. Interestingly, the dressers in this room cannot be opened, which is strange, but at least the lockers can. But inside we don't find much. Heading out and opening the northeastern door leads to another bedroom with a similar situation. A dresser that can't be opened, but a few small containers that can. Next, we can head out and go into the southwestern room, and like the last two, we can't open these dressers, but we do find Professor Malleus's audio log V9202 lying on a table with a blasted-out terminal.
I'm a bit encouraged by the latest batch of data. It seems that 33% of the subjects are now lapsing into a trance-like state on occasion. When in this state, we're fairly certain that suggestion and programming of the subject can be applied. We've begun testing this by implanting subtle cues in affected subjects, making them scratch their ear or constantly fix their hair. So far, I'm happy to report a 100% success rate on this implementation method.
Ah, so they were using the white noise as a way to induce a trance-like state in some of the vault dwellers. This is morally dubious. No, not even dubious. This is morally disgusting. But at least it seems harmless enough. I mean, all he's doing is have them scratch their ear or fix their hair. Could these rather harmless suggestions from the professor have led to the massacre that must have gone on here? To answer our question, we need to head through the western door. This leads to a hallway that loops around and ends at the overseer's office. To the south, we see a table upon which lies Richard Rubin's terminal. We remember from Gordy's terminal that Richard was the overseer of Vault 92, and lying next to this terminal is Professor Malleus's audio log V9203.
Disaster today. One of our test subjects, V920717, has murdered 3 other residents in a fit of unbridled rage, the likes of which I've never seen. It took almost 23 shots before the security team took him down. This subject has no history of violence or mental instability whatsoever. My concern is that this subject is one of our most successful implant recipients, able to execute complex instructions during a trance state.
And now we begin to see where these crazies must have come from. Professor Malleus was implanting instructions into these vault dwellers using the white noise. And it looks like one of the residents who was most susceptible to suggestion became violent, going crazy. Perhaps the other crazies we've read about were more vault dwellers like this one who took to the implantations easily. But why go violent? This surprised Professor Malleus. Clearly this was not part of his experiment. Perhaps we can learn more by reading the Overseer's terminal. But before we do, let's go ahead and grab this pre-war book on a shelf. Inside we find 4 entries and an option to open the Overseer's tunnel. In the first one, as per instructions, the broadcast equipment for the white noise has been rerouted from the sound booths and tied directly into the entire Vault's loudspeaker system. I'll now be able to execute Vault-Tech's confidential plan WNMSCE, White Noise Mind Suggestion Combat Experimentation. I have 3 of Professor Malleus's team doing what I need to get done and hope to show some concrete results soon. I had the engineers make it so the white noise can be either triggered from the control center or at the local security consoles. The password to these consoles is UIY2249. So it was the Overseer, using the white noise to program his residents with combat suggestions. And now we know why the Overseer wouldn't allow Gordy to sell headphones from his shop. The Overseer wanted everyone to be exposed to this white noise at all times, and you can't be exposed to white noise if you have something else plugged into your ears. In the next one, the results of the white noise mind suggestion combat experimentation are even better than I could have ever imagined. The sheer strength and tenacity of combat suggestion implanted test subjects is incredible. Imagine an entire army of people who would never disobey a direct order from high command and who can fight until it takes over 20 bullets to stop them. In the next one, Malleus says the white noise mind suggestion combat experimentation is a failure. So there's been a few deaths. 1 step back, 2 steps forward. It's easy to suppress what everyone in the vault are calling crazies. I've added a command word in their suggestion implants. Simply say the phrase, "Sanity is not statistical," and they will stop dead in their tracks. I've informed the guards of this, but I've told them only to use it when out of earshot of anyone else. "Sanity is not statistical" is a quote from George Orwell's novel 1984. The main character Winston said this phrase to show that sanity is not dictated by the majority. Even if the majority of people do one thing, that does not make their one thing sane. If one man differs from the majority, that doesn't necessarily make him insane. In the next one, The command phrase is no longer working against the crazies. I don't know what the hell happened, but I'm losing control of the situation. If we don't get things under control soon, we're gonna have a huge revolt on our hands. Malleus is inciting the rest of the Vault into action. I'm afraid, by the power invested in me by the Vault-Tec Corporation, I have no choice but to have him killed. What a waste. What a waste. What a fool. The Overseer himself admits that he's losing control of the situation, and then he wants to kill the one man trying to get the rest of the Vault Dwellers to save themselves? What a nut job. And this is the guy who came up with the command phrase, "Sanity is not statistical." How ironic. But this note gives us a possible author for the flood control note that we found lying on the ground near to a skeleton. If Dr. Malleus was trying to organize people, perhaps he was doing so with written notes outside of the intramail. We can then choose the final option to open the Overseer's tunnel. Whoops, looks like I forgot to loot a stealth boy that was on the desk. Around in the corner we can jump up and down, and there we go. Heading down the steps into the Overseer's tunnel, we can open a door to sound testing. But this leads us to what looks like a reactor room. Here we find a few goodies laid out, a laser pistol with an ammo box to the southwest, and then going around the perimeter of this room, we find the door, but it's jammed shut. Looks like there's some sort of shelving unit stuck underneath it. Well, continuing around, we find a safe to the southeast, locked with an easy lock. Inside, we find a Chinese pistol with a bunch of ammunition, caps, and some whiskey. On top is another ammo container. And it looks like we've hit a dead end, but if we listen carefully, we can hear something walking on the other side of the door. Is that a Mirelurk? What's a Mirelurk doing in a vault? Well, we have no choice but to retrace our steps. Heading back through the tunnel, we can leave the Overseer's office and re-enter the atrium. Hopping down to the ground floor of the atrium, we can now choose another path to explore. This time, we'll head through the northwestern door to explore the living quarters. But as soon as we enter the living quarters, we get attacked by a slew of Mirelurks.
Had enough? Need you to mess with me. Hey, where?
Good grief, they just kept coming and coming. After they're dead, we can go down this southern path, but this leads to a dead end. We can look through some windows, however, into what must have been a kitchen or cafe of some sort. Retracing our steps and rounding the corner, we find a wall-mounted terminal to the right next to the female dorm. This is the women's dorm security terminal. We need to be careful, though. Our perception tells us on our compass that there's another enemy to the northwest. Reading the terminal, we find 4 intercom options and a noise flush. The first one, intercom operator, doesn't work because the operator is unavailable. If we choose any of the other options, general services, kitchen, or climate control, we get error 862. Please speak with the operator. The only option we have is noise flush, and when we select it, we hear some white noise static and notice that the red marker on my compass disappeared. This noise flush must be the same noise flush option that the professor talked about in the note that we found on the ground. He said it would drive the crazies back, but does it also work on Mirelurks? Could the white noise have scared the remaining Mirelurks on this level? We need to explore further to get answers. Heading north to explore the women's dorm, we find some boxes with minor loot to the northwest, and a first aid kit on the wall. This leads to a door to the north, which is the primary female dorm. There's a doorway to the northeast, which leads to a small supply closet. Here we find a box of mines on the bottom of a shelf, a bunch of containers, and then a wall safe, but the wall safe is empty. Looks like someone beat us to it. Heading out, we can explore more of the lockers by the bunk beds, and then we see a door to the bathroom to the west with a dead Mirelurk. Well, we didn't kill this guy, but he did die recently. He must have died when we turned on the white noise. The white noise must have had some strange effect on the Mirelurk that killed him. The stalls are empty, but we do find the skeleton of a woman to the southwest. She's still clutching a teddy bear, telling us that perhaps this was a young virtuoso, maybe a young teenager, who was admitted to this vault because of her amazing musical prowess. Well, she no longer needs her teddy bear, so we can take it for little Marie. That's it for the women's dorm, so backing out, we can go across the hallway to what looks like a game room. We find a Vault-Tec lunchbox on a table, a pool table on the opposite end, and it connects to the east to a small little cafeteria. Here we just find some darts and minor loot. Opening the door to the west leads to a hallway next to the male dorm. Here we find another security terminal, which remember we unlocked after getting a password from the Overseer's terminal. And this has all the same options as the women's security terminal, including a noise flush. I went ahead and tagged it just in case to make sure we've cleared out these Mirelurks. Exploring the men's dorm, we find a first aid kit under one of the tables, and like the women's dorm, we find a bunch more bunk beds and lockers. Opening a door to the north leads to the bathroom. In one of the stalls, we find a plunger, not that interesting, but in the final stall, we find a piece of paper lying on the ground behind the toilet. This is a sheet music book, which I suppose is fitting for this kind of vault. Checking our Pip-Boy, we find it in the miscellaneous section, and it doesn't really do anything. What could this be for? Heading out of the bathroom, we see another dead Mirelurk. Good thing I did that noise flush. And lying on the ground is a skeleton next to an assault rifle. Opening the door to the south, we find a supply closet, but lying on the ground next to a rigged shotgun on a nearby shelf is a skeleton. Looking on the ground, we see that the tripwire has already fired. Perhaps by the man whose corpse we find lying on the ground near the assault rifle. Maybe this man in the closet had set up this trap to protect himself, and he succeeded in killing the crazy who tried to attack him, but not before the crazy killed him. After disarming the rigged shotgun, we can loot a laser pistol on the box with some ammunition, and on the ground next to the corpse is a key code to data storage, which looks like a red pass card right next to a note. John Adiglio's note. I'm cut off and I don't know if anyone sane is left, so I've locked myself in this closet on B level. If anyone finds this note, let my family know I didn't go crazy like the rest of this place. Let them know that I died with dignity, when and where I decided. There's no way I'm gonna let the crazies tear me apart. I can't die like that. To my wife and kids, I love you all. This note almost reads like he committed suicide. We do find that laser pistol. Perhaps he set up this rigged shotgun and then committed suicide. A few hours later, one of the crazies opened the door and tripped on the tripwire. After looting a locked ammo crate next to this guy, we can turn to unlock an easy locked wall safe to the west. Inside we find some caps, pre-war money, and a stealth boy. Heading out of the men's dorm to the hallway, we have two paths ahead of us. We can go north or we can go south. Let's go south first. We find a staircase leading down to a basement level. Here we find more Mirelurk corpses that we killed using the noise flush. And this leads to a hallway where we find two skeletons. Looking through a nearby window, we got a Nuka-Cola Quantum over there. Let's see if we can go find it. Heading through the door, we go down a short hallway to open another door to the south, which leads to a room with more dead Mirelurks. Going west, we enter what must be some sort of security room. We find a few blasted out terminals and a small assortment of supplies on some of these shelves, including some darts. The lockers are all empty, but we do find that Nuka-Cola Quantum we saw earlier, and here we find the security terminal. Here we find three options: allow access, deny access, or noise flush. Choosing allow access first doesn't seem to really do anything, but then again, we already opened the door to this area, so instead let's try deny access. This option closes the door and sets off an incendiary trap in the hallway. Suddenly we realize how those two people died in the hallway. We can choose Allow Access to open the door again, and then Noise Flush. We again hear the noise, and it looks like one of the heads on the Mirelurks exploded, even though the Mirelurk was already dead. With this room explored, we can go east. We find a couple of options before us. We can loot some boxes and ammo containers on the shelf to the west, and then go through the northeastern door. Here we find quite a selection of explosives. We find pulse mines on one table and pulse grenades on another. These are some intense munitions for a vault dedicated to classical music. Heading out and turning southeast, we find a locked door, but we can open it with that data storage entry passcode keycard that we found next to the body of John Adiglio. Or if we didn't get the card, we can always hack this hard-locked terminal. If we're successful, we find the option to unlock the data storage room, or we can just go ahead and use the key. Inside, we find more munitions, railway spikes, ammunition canisters, stealth boys, microfusion cells, energy cells, right away, blood packs. But you know, this does make sense. After all, we learned from the Overseer's terminal that it was Vault-Tech's idea to use the white noise to program these people into combat. And what good is having a bunch of brainwashed Vault Dwellers who are good at combat if they don't have any weapons? Heading out of this room, on a table to the southwest, we find Professor Malleus's audio log V9204.
Unbelievable. We've had 12 more incidents in the past month mirroring Subject V920717's actions. The shocking part is the savagery these aberrants exhibit when they murder. They rip their victims apart limb from limb and eviscerate them by hand. These used to be respected members of the musical community. How could this be happening? Where have I gone wrong?
Even at this late point, poor Professor Malleus doesn't realize that his experiment has been hijacked by the Overseer, that the Overseer, under Vault-Tech's instructions, is giving them violent orders. The room next to this table must have been a small clinic. On a table, we find a DC Journal of Internal Medicine, and we see some medical equipment and a few patient beds. Here we find the laboratory terminal, and inside, 4 notes. The first note was from Professor John Malleus to Section 4 lab assistants. Congratulations on a job well done, everyone. It seems like the current white noise tests are complete successes, with less than a 1% margin of error. We still have much to do analyzing the data, but I think all of you deserve a pat on the back for excellent work. Let's keep it up. In the next one, from Professor John Malleus to the Overseer Richard Rubin, here's the data on subject V920717, as requested. We are completely baffled as to why someone would behave in this manner after being subjected to the white noise experiments. As soon as our autopsy is complete, we will try to piece together why he went insane. I'm sorry about this, Rick. We'll get to the bottom of it soon. John was taking this hard. He took responsibility for his test subject without realizing that the Overseer himself was responsible. In the next one, from John to Richard, we have a serious problem on our hands, and you have yet to answer my last several intra-vault mails or even see me. I have 7 more dead. 3 other Vault 92 residents have suffered the same symptoms as subject V920717. How many more of these people have to die before you realize we're in deep trouble? We're alone out here. No one will come to our rescue. If anyone is even left, we have to deal with this ourselves. Please, I need you to see me immediately and call your goon squad off your living area doors. In the final one, from John to Richard, Section 4 is under heavy guard now. I can't even get in without a personal escort. It's my estimate that over 30% of the Vault's entire population is now clinically insane and poses a real danger to the rest of us. We have to consider the possibility we may need to abandon the Vault completely. Better to take a chance outside than in here. You still won't speak to me, and any attempt I've made to see you has ended in scuffles with your guards. It's obvious something's going on, and I'm gonna find out what. I just can't fathom how the Overseer could be so obtuse at this point. With nearly half the population going crazy getting weapons and attacking the other half, what could he possibly gain by continuing the silent treatment, by ignoring Professor John, by refusing to allow them to evacuate? There's just no logic here. Well, this leads to a dead end, so to continue exploring, we can retrace our steps and go north down the hallway outside the male dorms to the utility wing. On the other side, we go up some stairs and get attacked by some bloatflies. We see a sign on the wall pointing towards the clinic and cafeteria. There's a door leading to the north and a door leading to the east. We'll try going north first. We see a door to the reactor level on the other side of this room. There's not much here but rubble and trash everywhere, so opening the door to the reactor brings us to a hallway that leads us down 2 flights of stairs into waist-deep water. Oh, this is why we've got mirelurks. The reactor level has flooded. And sure enough, as we open the door, we have to fight our way through some mirelurks. Opening the southern door, we've got a mirelurk hunter to kill. Passing through this reactor room, we enter a room to the south where we find a couple of ammunition canisters on top of a shipping crate, and we can then head east. At the end of this long flooded hallway, we find another Mirelurk King, and to the north, we find the engineering logs terminal. Inside, we find 5 trouble tickets. In ticket number 7, we learn that the engineer was named Carl Maynard. This ticket was about a lighting issue on B level. Fix notes. If I told Zach once, I've told him 1,000 times. Stop using the higher ampage ballasts in the lighting grid on B level. They'll overheat within days and blow out because the power taps up there weren't installed to spec. I had to replace 37 ballasts with Type KO9A ballasts and use a power tap converter on each one. Billing my missed dinner with that sexy redhead violinist up in Women's Dorm 7 to Zach's work credit account. Ah, poor old Carl. Might have missed out on the love of his life. In Ticket 8, we see that the issue was about Section 4 security upgrades, but the fix notes have been overwritten. The only one with the power to overwrite is presumably the Overseer. This ticket might have something to do with the installation of the noise flush on the dorm-level security terminals. In ticket number 9, we see that this one was issued to Carl's coworker, Zach Foxworthy. The issue was about an odd smell in the air conditioning system. This was nasty. Seems when Vault-Tec built this place, they decided to go ahead and parallel route the waste disposal dumping system with the air conditioning ducts. In some places, the ductwork is corroding, which has spread to the waste pipes. So now we have the waste products leaking into the venting. The airflow through the ducts is carrying the smell into most of men's dormitory 1, 2, and 5. Had to climb in there and patch it all up. In Ticket 10, this issue was about vault deterioration on D level, given to Carl Maynard. Fix notes ongoing. I have stress fractures and water seepage in 3 areas on D level. I can only conclude that there's an adjoining underground spring or lake that is putting pressure on the concrete walls. I have already patched the stress fractures and used the metal plating that we normally use for flooring to shore it up for now. I recommend we get all the engineers together on this issue and come up with some sort of more permanent solution. Otherwise, we'll be knee-deep in nasty groundwater or worse. Well, it seems like the or worse part of Carl's prediction came true. I doubt he would have been able to imagine Mirelurks. Vault-Tec really dropped the ball here. For a company as wealthy as Vault-Tec and with as much political clout, you'd think they'd be able to find a suitable spot to run their experiments, not spots that get flooded with water. But of course, this isn't the first time. A similar thing happened with Vault 19. Remember from my video on Vault 19, we learned that Vault-Tec accidentally constructed their vault on a big sulfur geyser. The sulfur smell leaking into the vault ventilation ended up contributing to the vault residents' paranoia. In the final one, the issue was a squeaky office chair given to Carl Maynard. Fix notes. This huge emergency was immediately addressed by our crack engineering team. We ran up to Professor Malleus's office and deployed the fluidic lubrication injector in an effort to stop impending doom from destroying us all. Okay, fine, we oiled up his damn chair. Is this really the kind of crap that's worth submitting a trouble ticket for? Well, it looks like Malleus wasn't above getting maintenance to oil his squeaky chair. But then again, he is a professor whose life revolves around sound. Suppose it must have driven him mad. Continuing forward to the west, we see a gas floating around in this room. I wanted to ignite it before I got myself in trouble later, so I backed on out and shot a few blasts from my Master Blaster. Well, looks like I didn't back out far enough. After we recover, we can open the door to the east where we kill another Mirelurk, and then the path rounds a corner and leads up a staircase to the south. At the end, we find a door that leads to another reactor room. Here we find two doors, one to the east and one to the west. Opening the western door first, we can go down a long hallway until we find an average locked door, booby-trapped with a frag mine. After deactivating the mine and unlocking the door, we find ourselves back at the entrance. We see the maintenance hatch leading outside and the doorway to the atrium. So at least now we know where this door led. Retracing our steps, we can instead open up the eastern door. Here we see signs, clinic and cafeteria behind us, classroom and equipment room ahead. Down a stairwell, we find an operating room to the left with bloatflies inside. At the end of this hallway is a door to sound testing. And almost immediately we get attacked by Mirelurks. We can go south or west. Going south first, we see a sign pointing towards the classroom. The classroom is to the right, and inside we see a projector still projecting onto a projection screen. But we don't know exactly what film they were projecting. It is presumably lost. Here we find a couple of lockers with some Nuka-Cola, and on the teacher's desk right next to a ruined terminal is Professor Malleus's audio log V9205.
The situation is getting out of hand. Over half the population of the vault is exhibiting savage tendencies. We can only assume our noise experimentation has awakened some dormant part of their psyche, brought their primitive nature to the surface. In essence, I feel that they are almost psychologically devolving. I was stupid for rushing these experiments. And now over 35 people are dead.
Professor Malleus rightly identifies his experimentation as the source of this apparent psychosis. He blames himself. But as we learned from the Overseer's terminal, he doesn't fall into despair, but instead rallies the survivors to lead them out of the vault. I wonder if he was successful. From this room, we can open a door to the west, and it looks like we found a practice room. We find music stands and chairs set out, but no Soi Stradivarius. Turning around and entering the room directly across the hallway from this one, we find the first chamber to this room mostly empty, but the second chamber to this room has a still functioning terminal on a table surrounded by stimpaks. This terminal belonged to Zoe Hammerstein. Could this be a reference to Oscar Hammerstein of Rogers and Hammerstein fame? On the terminal, we find 4 entries. The first, Zoe's thoughts. It's so wonderful to be surrounded by all this talent. Little old me, who can barely play the violin, is sitting among some of the world's greatest musicians. I still can't believe my luck. Today was great too. I was able to record an entire symphony, Haydn's Symphony No. 3 in D minor. It was so beautiful, I could barely keep up with everyone else in the string section, but they were so nice. They encouraged me instead of being stuffy jerks or something. Best of all, they record all of it and then let you hear yourself play on the studio's speakers. I can't wait until tomorrow. I hear we're doing a piece from Dvorak. Uh-oh. From this evidence, I think we can conclude that this vault wasn't really to preserve the nation's musical talent. Zoe here even admits that she can't compare to those around her, which makes you wonder why they let her in. I'm thinking that since their nefarious experiment was, of course, the primary purpose of this vault, that they weren't really too picky, which makes me wonder if Agatha's great-great-grandmother Hilda was all that talented to begin with. Another thing, Zoe mentioned Haydn's Symphony No. 3 in D minor, but Haydn never made a Symphony No. 3 in D minor. He made a Symphony No. 3 in G major. His D minor work was called String Quartet Opus number 76, which he wrote over 35 years after writing his Symphony number 3. Now, we could chalk this up to the Divergence, but the problem is that the Divergence happened in the 1950s, but Haydn wrote his Symphony number 3 in the 1760s. Either Zoe was so musically inept that she didn't know that Haydn didn't have a Symphony number 3 in D minor, or in this world he did, and we must conclude that the divergence might have happened in small snapshots before the larger divergence in the 1950s. In the next entry, more of Zoe's thoughts. I've been feeling a little sick lately, kind of woozy after playing in the studio usually. It gets so stuffy in that place, but it's sure worth it. I know I'm getting better just from watching my fellow violinists' techniques. They don't even mind giving me some pointers. Tonight, a bunch of us girls from the string section are gonna go down to the rec hall for a dance. I hope that cute sound guy Parker asks me to dance. He is dreamy. I kind of had the impression that these were all old ladies. She even referred to herself as little old me in the first one, and yet she describes this guy Parker as cute. The next entry says more of Zoe's thoughts, but it's highly misspelled. There's improper capitalization, the words have too many letters, there's a complete lack of punctuation. I'm not feeling very good. I can't concentrate. I went to Dr. Benzion's office, but he just said it's stress and to take it easier for a while. I think all of the time I'm spending in the sound studio is making me tired. I can barely type anymore. I'm shaking so much. Oh no. It looks like Zoe may have been one of the highly impressionable residents of Vault 92. In her last entry, we see evidence of a near complete transformation. Clicky, please help me. Ouch, order, follow, help me. Lost mind, can't stop them. Get out of my head. This poor woman, who at the very beginning was so happy to be here, among artists, among new friends who respected her, even despite her lack of talent, was so excited to dance with Parker in the rec hall. She became one of the crazies. I wonder which of the many skeletons we've seen so far was hers. Backing out of this room and heading south, this pathway loops all the way around the classroom. We see a door to the left, but it's blocked by a shelving unit. This looks kind of familiar. And then we remember that room beneath the overseer's office. This must be that very room. But wait, we remember hearing a mirelurk wandering around. Time to be careful moving forward. Rounding the next corner, we can take it to the end where we find a path to the left. But to complete this loop, let's turn right here and explore the small shop or utility room here to the left. We find a toolbox on the counter, a few more boxes behind the counter, some music stands, and one pre-war book on a bookshelf to the west. Heading into the adjoining room to the north, we find a big tool cabinet with scrap metal inside, and a bunch of boxes on the ground covered by some fallen over shelving units. But there's nothing terribly interesting in any of these containers. So that finishes this loop. To continue exploring, let's head out, turn west, and then continue southwest down the hallway. We find a split to the left leading to a lab, but let's follow the path forward to see where it leads. We arrive at a door to the atrium. This brings us out to that final door in the atrium. Here we find another body on the ground. This one looks as if he or she was fleeing before being shot in the back. But now that we know where we are, we can head back to finish exploring the sound testing section. This leaves one path remaining. We can turn right to go south down the stairway to the lab. At the bottom and rounding the corner, sure enough, we find some mirelurks. Going into the northern room, this may be the rec room that Zoe talked about, or maybe it was the room with the pool table. But here we find a jukebox and some vending machines, a refrigerator with all sorts of snacks, and another pre-war book lying on a table. Heading out and turning right, we see an average locked door to the west. This leads to another storage room. We find some darts on a bottom shelf, a couple of boxes, and then some Jet, and a Stealth Boy, and some Psycho. There are ammunition boxes in the corner, microfusion cells, and against the northern door, an average locked wall safe. Inside we find almost 200 bottle caps. We can grab the stim packs and railway spikes on the shelf as we walk out, and this leaves one path before us. Rounding the corner to the south, we see that the hallway splits left or right. Let's start by going left, and here we can find the final Mirelurk. In the nearby room, we see a flickering terminal on a table. Directly behind the terminal are two windows which appear to be looking into a practice room or some sort of studio. We see music stands standing up in the dim light. On the table next to this terminal is a copy of Nikola Tesla in Jew, and we find Professor Malleus's audio log V9206.
I can't believe what I've discovered. Just before he died, one of the security team members told me everything. The Overseer has been implanting these murderous intentions in the entire Vault population without my knowledge. Using the loudspeakers in the dorms instead of just the studios, he subjected everyone to the white noise as they slept. He then implanted combat suggestions he claims came from Vault-Tec itself. He must be completely insane. No observation, no controls. I'm going to have to confront him now and make him pay for what he's done. Half the Vault is dead. The other half, fighting for its life. Good luck to all of us. And may God have mercy on our souls.
Well, he's not insane. Vault-Tec really did give the Overseer those instructions. He was following orders. But of course, that doesn't make any of this right. Professor Malleus is justified to be as incensed as he is. After all, he was played for a fool. On the studio computer, we find 4 options. The first is to open the recording studio. We see an update. Studio in standby mode. We can then read Vault Mail number 339. This was from Parker Livingston, the studio supervisor, to the engineering staff. Ah, Parker, this must be the very same fellow who Zoe had a crush on. Hey guys, I'm not sure if this is even worth putting an official trouble ticket in for, but I'm getting some sort of odd pitch overlay on my sound equipment. It's almost like another signal is leaking from maybe the Vault intercom network or communications gear and piggybacking on everything I record. It's barely noticeable, but I can definitely see it on my scope. Do we have any cross-wiring issues or faulty cable insulation problems on sea level? And the next one, 344, we find a note from Parker to Hilda Egelbrecht. This must be the very same Hilda whose violin we came to retrieve. Agatha's great-great-grandmother. I just wanted to take this opportunity to send you an intra-vault mail regarding the wonderful session you performed this afternoon. The sound you coaxed from your Stradivarius is bar none the most haunting, beautiful thing I've heard here to date. I was wondering if perhaps we could get together tomorrow evening and discuss this in a more intimate setting. Uh-oh. Poor old Zoe. Looks like Parker's affections are placed elsewhere. And in the final one, Mail 350, we again find a note from Parker to Hilda. But this one is much less formal. Hi, Hildy. Just wanted to send you a quick note. Our session together yesterday was wonderful. I'm glad the studio doors lock, otherwise some of your stuffier fellow musicians might not appreciate how closely you and I work. Make sure when we meet tonight you bring your delicate instrument. Oh, and your violin, too. I have an idea of something we can do with the bow, a new technique I've always wanted to try. Oh, God. That just sounds horribly uncomfortable. Violin bows weren't meant for that. So, should we tell Agatha about her grandmother? Or, kind of keep that one quiet? After all, some things are better left unsaid. But as we arise, we see that by unlocking the door to the studio room, we've powered on the lights. Heading out, going around the corner, and this time going west, we can open up a door to the studio room. And as we do, we disturb a corpse. This body had been leaning against the door, and in his hand was a laser pistol. We see 2 more corpses here, one sitting in a chair and one lying on the ground. And also, an easy-locked wall safe to the south. But inside we don't find anything terribly interesting. It looks as if these 2 people were having a private recording session. Perhaps these are the remains of Parker and Hilda. After all, we saw in the terminal that Parker and Hilda had planned to meet that night in a private studio room for one of their sessions. It may be that while they were in here cavorting, one of the crazies burst through the door with a laser pistol and killed them. But this doesn't explain how the murderer ended up dying. After all, we don't see any weapons by Parker and Hilda's corpses. You know what would make this even worse is if the person with the gun was Zoe. What if she, in her degenerative state, with her mind long gone, saw Parker and Hilda in this room and her primal jealousy took over? She burst through the door and murdered them both in cold blood, then, experiencing a brief moment of remorse, turned the gun on herself for killing the man she fancied. But wait, Parker told Hilda to bring her violin. If this is really the corpse of Parker and Hilda, we should find the Soi Stradivarius. And look at that. In the southeastern corner, lying on a table, we find a familiar triangular violin-shaped case. Peering through the glass, which is now covered in dust and grime, we see a beautiful red violin. This is the Soi Stradivarius. After looting it, we complete this objective and are now told to return the violin to Agatha. But for now, we can take in the sad sight in the studio room and lament the death of these two lovers who were robbed of a potential lifetime of happiness. On our way out, we can open the only door we have yet to explore. This is the door to the west that we saw first upon entry when we instead chose to visit the atrium. Opening the door, we find a proximity mine on the ground, which we must deactivate, and we can go down a long hallway to open a door which leads to the reactor section of the vault. So had we gone this way first instead of the atrium, we would have walked through the knee-deep water. But since we've already done this, we can turn around and exit Vault 92 with the confidence that we leave the place fully explored. As was to be expected, the story of Vault 92 is a horrible one. But is it even possible? Are humans really that sensitive to unconscious conditioning? This plot hinges on the idea that while people sleep, their subconscious can be programmed to do something as extreme as murder simply by hearing instructions over and over again. Well, there's plenty of evidence that people's opinions and behaviors can be influenced by subliminal messaging. For example, in 1999, researchers North, Hargreaves, and McKendrick experimented on wine sales using music. When researchers played German music in a wine store, German wine outsold the French wine. But on days when they played French music in the wine store, French wine outsold the German wine. The scenario we see going on here in Vault 92 is pretty outlandish, but subliminal priming is a real thing. Researchers believe that it's because we evolved to enjoy things that we're more familiar with. We greatly prefer to see faces we've seen before, as opposed to faces we've never seen before. We're more likely to trust people we see on a daily basis than strangers we're meeting for the very first time. This is why companies will spend big bucks not to give you a sale, a coupon, a discount, or any other incentive to buy from them, but just to tell you their name, to show you their logo, to make themselves familiar to you. As human beings, we gravitate towards, we're more attracted to things that we're familiar with. Is it possible that the subconsciouses of these people in Vault 92 became so familiar with the ideas of violence and murder that over time it became so attractive to them that it created within them an insatiable desire, an overwhelming urge that trumped all other reason? Clearly, in this world, it did. Now that we have the Soi Stradivarius, we need to deliver it to its rightful owner, Hilda's sole heir, her great-great-granddaughter, Agatha. But we don't have to. There are many ways to end this quest. We can give this violin to 2 other people, whom we can interact with in 4 different ways. Agatha will have different responses depending upon our choices, which is why we must save the ending of this questline for a dedicated video. If you want to make sure you don't miss the final episode in this series, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook where I announce any changes to my production schedule. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with episode 4. In yesterday's episode, we successfully
Erfahrungspunkte zu sammeln. Ich glaube, ich was Cooles. Ist doch schön. Eine Flasche mehr mit 14. Wunder, dass die noch nicht runtergekommen sind.
Polen habe, aber stattdessen haben wir in Strengths 50 investiert, obwohl wir keine Strengths 50 Waffen benutzen. Das ist natürlich korrekt. Also ich komme nicht aus der Fat Roll raus.
Dann mach doch vielleicht, also wenn du jetzt schon so auf Tank gehst.
Willst du davon?
Das ist doch schön, sieht auch schick aus.
Ich versuch's einfach mal. Du kannst das gleich wieder. Es wäre schön, wenn es so...
Mühseliger kleiner
Ja, gebe ich zu, aber ich will das jetzt...
Nein, das wäre auch... Ich würde mich jetzt liebend gerne davon überzeugen lassen, dass das einfach... Das sieht auch einfach nach einem Schild aus, hinter dem man sich gern versteckt. Problem ist nur, dass du am Anfang zumindest wahrscheinlich wieder auf beidhändig switchen musst, wegen der wegen des Angriffs des Vertikalen.
Was? Das darf doch nicht wahr sein.
Das tut weh.
Ich sehe halt wieder nichts.
Millisekunden.
Das ist nicht zu fassen.
Ach, du hast wieder ihn aufgelockt, ne?
Was? Ich sehe wieder nichts.
Achtung, jetzt macht er von oben.
Wieso treffe ich ihn denn nicht?
Das sind Zentimeter Furzel.
Und jetzt sehe ich ihn wieder nicht.
Sehr gut. Oh Gott. Okay. Ich hoffe, du hast den Finger auf Quadrat. Er hat ihn, genau. Ich fieber so mit, dass ich körperlich mich nicht zurückhalten kann. Ja, ich meine, gut.
Aber wir haben nicht so viel mehr Damage genommen von seinen Schlägen jetzt,
Das stimmt.
als ohne das Schild. Und
Also ich möchte...
Du kannst den durchaus tanken. Und ich hätte ja auch noch rollen können. Ich habe es jetzt nur... Ich war mich so konzentriert. Ich finde das nicht so schlecht, ehrlich gesagt.
Kannst du ja gleich noch... Ich gehe davon aus, dass du es gleich nochmal probieren kannst.
Nee, belass es doch. Versuch's doch mal so. Nee?
Ja, kann man probieren.
Also genau wie du es eben gemacht hast. Weil wir haben nicht so viel mehr Damage genommen.
Man darf einfach nicht so viel rollen.
Also das Ding ist, wenn wir getroffen werden, verlieren wir eh so viel Energie, dass wir uns heilen müssen.
Ja.
Solange er uns nicht one-shottet, und das hat er nicht getan, ist das eigentlich... Ja, ich weiß nicht, also... Das Gefühl, das war gar nicht so...
Ja, man muss
ja...
ja...
Du darfst auch nicht, wie oft ich jetzt Luftlöcher geschlagen habe in der ersten Sequenz. Wobei, gut, ich war ja in der zweiten. Ich halte das für machbar.
Ich sehe nur ein Problem höchstens in der Ausdauerleiste. Weil der haut dir das Ding ratzfatz natürlich runter. Und dann, also man steht jetzt schnell nackt da. Wenn man alle Schläge blockt, verlierst du natürlich mehr, als wenn du rollst. Aber gut, dafür musst du natürlich auch wiederum perfekt rollen. Das ist, probieren wir es einfach mal. Okay.
Das ist auch eine Kollisionsabfrage aus der Hölle, ne?
War das?
Für ihn aber auch offensichtlich.
Ja, das war... Ich sehe nicht.
Du hast das Schild auch nicht, ne?
Ja,
stimmt. Zweihändig, also...
Gib mir doch ein bisschen Übersicht nur. Dass ich mal ab und zu das Gefühl habe, ich sehe was.
Kannst damit halt auch die Zaubersprüche blocken. Wisst ihr? Das macht gar keinen Damage.
Ja, ich bin aber auch gerade gerollt.
Achso. Aber das hat auch kein Damage.
Nee. Und das macht natürlich weniger, das hast du recht. Das Problem ist nur, was ich sehe, ist, naja, dass man dieser ewige...
Nach links dann, so schräg nach links rollen musst du dann heilen. Naja.
Ich habe doch die andere Taste gehämmert. Okay. Okay.
Naja, aber dann nicht rollen. Also das macht natürlich dann
es ergibt keinen Sinn.
Also
für mich ist das Problem, dass man sehr häufig, auch wenn du es glaube ich gerade gar nicht... Hast du mal auf beidhändig umgeschaltet eben?
Mehrmals.
Ja, da muss man halt echt sehr, sehr schnell sein. Also hier muss man vieles... Nee, klar, rollen...
Also, aber ich gebe zu, für deinen Stil zu kämpfen war das nichts. Aber es macht natürlich keinen Sinn, der großen Attacke dann auszuweichen zu wollen. Die musst du dann halt tanken. Ja. Weil sonst hast du halt Worst of Both Worlds. Das ist natürlich... Was hab ich denn jetzt gemacht?
Ist ja Outro-Kamera Lock-on, hat es irgendwas... Aber war das wieder normal? Okay. Ja, bin ich gespannt.
Sage ich selbst und mach's genauso.
Das ist halt einfach so drin, ne? Wenn man eher auf Rollen spielt.
Ja, das macht keinen Sinn, dass er da nicht trifft, ganz ehrlich. Wie langsam er aufsteht, ich kann es nicht fassen. Hä? Oh.
Ja, das ist ja nicht ganz gegen die beide gehen. Ja gut. Ja, hat extrem wenig gemacht. Du hast nicht mehr viel Energie.
Aber er ist überhaupt nicht auf die Stamina gegangen. Hast du es gesehen? Er hat gar nicht geblockt.
Ich hab nur die Blitzattacke beobachtet und gesehen, wie unglaublich wenig Schaden die dir genommen hat.
Nein, er ist überhaupt nicht er ist gar nicht ans Schild gegangen. Er hat mich erwischt ohne das Schild.
Glaube ich nicht so.
Also er hat überhaupt nicht, es gab ja auch
vielleicht,
kein
weil er Instant
Geräusch
Death war
so.
oder so?
Nee, ich glaube, ich stand irgendwie vom Winkel so, dass er leicht von der Seite mich touchiert hat oder so. Er hat das Schild gar nicht getroffen, sonst wäre ja auch der Stamina-Balken oder ein Stagger oder irgendwas, aber er ist ja direkt auf den Energiebalken gegangen. Was dafür spricht, dass er mich von einem ungünstigen Winkel erwischt hat, der am Schild vorbeigegangen ist.
Soll er mal nicht mehr. Mehrfach.
Alter, ich finde es gar nicht so
Ja,
schlecht.
komm mal, ich probier's mal noch. Ich probier's jetzt nochmal. Indem ich jetzt eben nicht permanent rolle, sondern wirklich die Scheiße mehr aussitze.
Ja, das ist der Nachteil natürlich. Das liegt aber dann natürlich auch an der Waffe.
Ja, du weißt dann natürlich auch nicht
Und
genau, wann er
anders fokussieren.
Ja. Wann er seinen zweiten... Ja, den...
Genau. Und jetzt wieder zurück. Wieder aufs Schild.
Ja.
Genau. Blocken.
Ja, kannst du auch weglaufen in dem Fall.
Siehst du? Ist auch am Schild vorbeigegangen, der Treffer.
Jetzt macht er bestimmt Feuer. Nein.
Oh, alles
Ja.
gut.
Jetzt macht er natürlich Feuer. Gefällt mir nicht. Ach, ich habe leider auch kein Ember eingesetzt, deswegen bin ich fast immer wieder am Ende.
Schön. 2.
Ich habe zu spät gewechselt, leider auf. Ja.
Letzter Versuch mit dieser Variante.
Ja gut, du bist damit ja schon ganz gut weit gekommen, aber irgendwie... Also hier gibt es halt total viel... Für mich irgendwie noch so ein Ding mehr zu... Obwohl, es ist Schwachsinn. Ob man jetzt die Rolltaste drückt oder die Schildhochhaltetaste. Es ist eine Taste. Es ist nur eine andere Taste.
Ja.
Weil ich dachte gerade, weißt du, es kommt
Jetzt
so ein...
ist Ember übrigens.
Mach was draus. Mach was draus.
Ich mach was draus. Ich beschwöre uns jetzt.
Ja.
Gemeinsam kämpfen.
Also, ich hätte kein Problem damit, gleich irgendwie 2, 3 Level mal hochzugehen und zum Beispiel in Vigor zu gehen oder so.
Ja, das wird dir nicht den Unterschied.
Ja, aber es gibt ja immer das Gefühl manchmal, dass man...
Gefühle sind trügerisch.
Oder eben auch auf... Wir haben halt einfach keine gute Ausdauer. Die ist halt auch käsig.
Ja, Ausdauer ist okay.
Ich finde, also...
Was macht der
Das
denn
ist die
jetzt?
mit Abstand seltenst gesehene Attacke, glaube ich. Ich glaube, der hat ja einfach nur so ein Windding, aber hat hier nichts Böses getan. Saint Amber.
Das glaubt einem ja kein Mensch, ey.
Leider schon. Wir haben Zeitzeugnisse. Die Kindeskinder unserer Kinder werden sich das noch angucken und sich fragen. Du hast aber so tolle Geschichten von Opa erzählt.
Ich?
Ich habe da ein Video gefunden.
Jetzt raff ich's.
So. Ich werde jetzt, wo sind sie denn nun? Jeder liebt sie, den geilen Delfin. Das war nochmal gut gegen Blitz, die Brass, ne? Hatten wir uns als Präferierte.
Ich lese jetzt einen Guide übrigens.
Was? Wozu hierzu? Über,
Du kannst mal ins Nexus gehen und neue Ember kaufen.
Nee. Wenn du den Guide liest, werde ich etwas anderes tun. Ich werde jetzt einmal...
Kannst du gar nicht ohne Ember.
Ah, warte,
Sind wir überhaupt online?
Ja, ich hoffe.
Weil ich habe noch kein einziges Sign am Boden gesehen.
Richtig. Ich gucke mal, ob ich eins legen kann. Nein, wir sind, glaube ich, tatsächlich leider nicht online. Dann gehen wir halt zurück. Back to the next.
Das sind immer so geile Tipps bei so Guides. Be ready to roll out of the way of those attacks. Wow. Weiche den Attacken aus.
Ja.
Das ist mein Guide.
Ja.
Du.
Ja, es gibt ganz wunderbare Guides zu dem Thema. Am schönsten sind auch Videos, in denen steht Guide und du hast das Gefühl, Moment, du hast einfach Schwein gehabt.
Ja.
Du machst das, was jeder macht, du parierst, du blockst, du rollst und heilst dich permanent. So ein Guide ist etwas, wo man das Gefühl hat, okay, Der zeigt mir exakt in Wort und Bild, wo jetzt hier der Unterschied liegt. Und kann das auch reproduzieren vor allem. Wollen wir jetzt echt die ganze Kohle in Ember... Ja, ist ja wurscht. Ist ja nicht so, dass wir... Haben wir denn noch nicht mehr Asche, die wir geben können? Ja. Dragon Chases Ash.
Roll to avoid his attacks.
Kannst du das bitte aufschreiben? Ich kann mir das sonst nicht merken.
And then get in a couple of hits on the Nameless King. Don't get too greedy. Keep this pattern up until the Nameless King has his health bar reduced by half.
Vielen Dank auch.
Ey, ganz ehrlich, GameRant.com. Ihr seid es nicht wert, von mir beachtet zu werden. Das ist kein Guide, das ist einfach Common Sense. So, was schreiben die hier? Und ich will so einen Tipp wie, stell dich hinter die dritte Statue, da kann er dich nicht treffen.
Schlimm ist nur, wir wüssten, wir hätten sie längst. Wenn es diesen Tipp geben würde. Hast du nicht eben die Tür zugemacht? Ist wieder aufgegangen?
Nee.
Oder haben die ein neues...
Da hängt ein Kabel drin, man kann sie nicht ganz zumachen. Ich frage mich, was die da draußen machen. Bauen die einen Swimmingpool oder?
Müssen wir mal gucken, dass wir dann online haben.
Hier so ein Video an Fists Only, Nameless King.
Das Schlimmste ist, es gibt ein Video, wo jemand diesen Master Gundir die ganze Zeit nur um ihn herum läuft und nicht einmal einen Block abfangen muss, einen Schlag mit dem Shield, er muss nicht einmal rollen und er schlägt ihn einfach zwischendurch. Und keiner trifft. Und ich denke, du musst nur nach vorne rechts drücken. Du musst ihn auflocken, nah an ihn dranbleiben und nach vorne rechts drücken. Warum klappt das bei mir nicht? Gut, es hat dann geklappt. Es hat nicht geklappt.
Es sieht so einfach aus, wie der das hier macht in dem Video. Er wird halt aber auch einfach, wie immer, er wird einfach nicht getroffen von den Scheißattacken.
Aber der rollt auch einen Tacken mehr, oder?
Ja, der rollt. Eigentlich, er macht genau das gleiche wie wir, nur besser.
YouTube ist echt der schlimmste Platz, um zu wissen...
Oh, da wurde er sogar mal getroffen, ey.
Wo ist dein Platz in der Nahrungskette? Guck dir YouTube-Videos an.
Er hat halt auf jeden Fall sein Schwert mit Feuer verzaubert. Es landet halt auch immer der Best Try auf YouTube, ne? Es die 300
gut,
Versuche davor, die genauso kläglich aussehen wie bei uns, die sieht man da halt auch nicht.
Ach nein! Gott, verdammt! Oh, das war jetzt gerade... Das hätte er auch. Wenn du merkst, du hast das falsche Item im Slot.
Was mir manchmal fehlt bei Dark Souls ist, dass man eine Attacke im Mid-Swing sozusagen abbrechen kann, canceln kann, so wie bei Street Fighter, weißt du?
Ja.
Dass du merkst, okay, ich habe schon ausgeholt, aber es wird nichts, aber ich muss diese Attacke jetzt nicht zu Ende führen.
Kamera echt.
Boah, hier ist er fast tot eigentlich. Ich guck mal lieber dir zu, ne?
Ja, das lohnt sich alles nicht.
Es ist so frustrierend, es gibt keine Abkürzung. There is no shortcut to skill.
Das macht ja eigentlich Souls die Guten auch aus.
Na, es gab schon viele Gegner, die du cheesen konntest.
Nee, das ist richtig. Ich meine nur, dass es nicht zwingend die Sache geiler macht.
Nee.
Also, ich meine halt, das haben... Danke.
Ich habe auch kein Problem mit einem schweren Gegner. Wie gesagt, Fume Knight oder so habe ich den Kampf geliebt. Was ich halt nicht mag, ist, wenn zum Beispiel so wie Kamera oder Kollisionsabfrage den Kampf schwerer machen, als er eigentlich ist. Sehr gut, voll. Denkt dran, zur Seite zu... Am besten rechts circlen und dann noch nach rechts auch rollen. Genau, ja. Aber in der Theorie... Nicht gleich heilen.
Jetzt aber. Ja. Jetzt. Okay.
Nach rechts laufen und...
Okay. Vitality ist jetzt wichtiger.
Jetzt rollst du gar nicht mehr.
Okay. Ich guck. Rhythmus. Okay. Das Problem ist, er kündigt das so schwer an, weißt du, wann er sticht, finde ich. Ja, man hört das nicht, es gibt nicht so einen richtigen...
Stark. Roll mehr. Roll. Zur Seite. Ja, das war's. Und
ich muss meine Vitality... Okay, jetzt aber. Ich habe ja noch 2.
Haben ihn ja fast. Genau.
Nicht treten. Ach, das ist scheiße.
Schon wieder Werbung?
Werbung, ja, Werbung. Schön.
Gerade, wo wir
Klasse. Habt ihr was, worauf ihr euch freuen
in der
könnt?
Zone sind.
Ja, zack, das geht ganz schnell.
Durchatmen, weiter geht's.
Sir Etienne Gardet durchschritt den Nebel und stellte sich dem windigen Biest. Ausgezeichnet.
Seh wieder nichts.
Okay. Sehr gut. Perfekter Roll.
Das ist mein lächerlich. Anzahl an Luftlöchern. Die Luft hat hier schon ein Ozonloch, weil ich so viel da reingehauen habe. Wo ist er denn?
Falsch angelockt, Denker.
Das gibt's nicht, ey.
Okay. Okay. Ich würde jetzt aber... mach die Linie. Wunderbar. Ja. Okay. Ja, das ist... Ach Mann, vor lauter Aufregung fällt die fucking Flaske.
Komm überhaupt nicht. Der timet ist gerade so, dass ich...
Ja.
Ja. Super fair, ey. Ich habe jetzt wirklich keinen Bock mehr, ey. Fickt euch, ey. Wirklich keinen Bock mehr jetzt.
Ich Affiliate. Ladezeiten jetzt auch mal optimieren können.
Und scheiß jetzt zum Lüttengrill und hol mir eine Frikadelle, ey. Das ist mir jetzt egal.
Die Idee klingt eigentlich sehr verführerisch. Da gebe ich dir auch recht. Die Frikadellen sind leider sehr lecker da. Aber alles sehr hochpreisig.
Beim Lüttengrill ist doch nicht hochpreisig.
Lüttengrill ist hochpreisig.
Was ist denn für was ist denn für dich der Marktpreis der Frikadelle?
Eine Pommes Currywurst beim Lüttengrill. Frag Dennis Richtarski, der ist Imbiss. Nein, ich habe einen Fehler gemacht.
Der ist Imbiss?
Ach, da ist fast nichts. Er ist ja ausgewiesener Imbiss-Experte. Du bekommst relativ kleine Portionen. Zwar wertig, aber kleine Portionen für ziemlich viel Geld. Für eine Standard, für eine Pommes, finde ich.
Naja, also,
das ist schon.
Ich finde die Frikadelle dort
Die Frikadelle ist aber gut.
Die Frikadelle ist im Preis-Leistungssegment absolut vertretbar.
Ja gut, der Knorpelquotient ist sehr niedrig.
Der Knorpelquotient ist aber wichtig für die
Genau, das ist
der Frikadelle. Schön.
Nicht gierig werden, Einfach mal gucken, wo er steht. Gib mir wenigstens die Chance, dich nach 200 Versuchen aufzulocken, du blöde Wichsgeburt. Ja, ist auch schön. Na gut, das war natürlich glücklich. Macht einen doppelten. Nein.
Du hast den Rider.
Ja. Ja, mich auch.
Ah, aber wenn man den Rider fokussiert, dann weicht man natürlich auch seine Attacken besser aus, ne? Bei der Rolle.
Ja!
Jetzt!
So, und jetzt? Hat's gereicht? Ja, es hat gereicht. Ich darf mir nicht sein Spiel aufzwingen lassen.
Rechts.
Nah dran.
Und rechts rumrollen. Genau. Ein
Mal
Schlag,
zwischendurch mal
fertig.
einsetzen.
Und rechts rollen. Und rollen.
Ja.
Boah, hast du Glück gehabt.
Ja.
Nicht zu viel blocken, Mann. Genau. Es staggert dich, wenn du blockst. Warum rollst du denn nicht? Nochmal heilen.
Halt gerollt!
Rollen, heilen. Ja. Das ist gut, Colin.
Nein, du kleiner... Oh, du lebst doch! Nein,
ja,
Ja, ich war tot. Ich glaube, ich war schon tot. Ich habe da oben nichts mehr gesehen. Nichts, was nach Rot aussah. Schade, ich hatte so viele schöne von den Kackflasks.
Sag mal, waren wir irgendwann in der Werbung? Wir sind irgendwann zurückgekommen?
Ich glaube, ich weiß es nicht im Ausland. Ich glaube, wir sind mal wieder zurück.
Aber wir haben nach der letzten Werbung haben wir eine Anmoderation gemacht?
Nein.
Also auch wurscht.
Davon haben die Zuschauer irgendwann genug.
Ja, ernsthaft, ihr wisst auch langsam, wie das hier funktioniert. Ja. Wir müssen euch auch nicht mehr erklären, wie das hier, was wir hier machen.
Ey, wir kriegen den jetzt.
Ja, ich nicht, aber...
Doch.
Bin völlig
die erste Phase ist eher meins, ich glaube, die zweite ist eher deins.
Können das Pad tauschen dann? Nee, das geht nicht mehr.
Nein, das geht, die Zeit haben wir nicht.
Auszeit, wir müssen kurz invertiert abstellen.
Sure, guys. Change your settings and just tell me when you're ready.
Danke, Nameless King.
Hey.
Hat er richtig schön einen Begrüßungsschlag gesetzt mal wieder.
Wie ich diese Attacke hasse. Ey, weil ich einfach nicht weiß, wie man... Ich rolle, ich blocke, es ist egal, sie trifft irgendwie immer.
Das ist so geil, wie man das... Das ist wie ein Ballett choreografiert. Dieses Ausholen und in dem Moment bewegt er sich nach oben und alles, was gute Laune macht. Okay. Ja, genau, zweimal Feuer. Im Programmcode gar nicht vorgesehen.
Zum Kotzen!
Er macht was. An der Feuerkante. Wunderschön.
Ich sehe nichts, ich sehe nichts.
Du hast einen Ember noch drin, du hast einen Ember.
Ich sehe nichts!
Ah, okay, das war...
Ich sehe nichts!
Womit hat er dich jetzt gerade getötet? Das war auch kein Feuer mehr, ne? Das war irgendeine Kackattacke.
Er war einfach weg, er war direkt über mir. So hoch kann man nur nicht gucken.
Jetzt setzt sie langsam an die verhältnismäßig spät. Diese innere Ungeduld, dieses, ach, es klappt eh nicht, ich setze schon mal auf den nächsten 324. Versuch mal Geld. Was ich gerade gehört habe, war die Tenga D. Oberkiefer, die Toilettentür geöffnet hat. Vor lauter Leute. So, nächster Versuch. Ja, ein Triple. Kein Triple. Nehmen wir mit, nehmen wir mit. Mach Flugi Flugmeister. Komm mal drunter. Ist schlecht getimed. Ah, immerhin. No risk. Zeit, einen Flask einzuwerfen oder macht er sofort seine... Ah, okay.
Nach rechts vorne dann, ne?
Ja. Oh, fuck.
Ich.
Das Problem ist... Ach, Mann, wenn er erstmal aus der fucking Kondition gehauen hat!
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Haben wir eigentlich noch Schnaps hier im Studio?
Hab ich gerade weggesoffen.
Ach Mensch! Vielleicht hat er mir noch ein bisschen Codein irgendwo versteckt.
Das Codein?
Ich glaube, was ein Hustenlöser ist.
Aber ich habe keinen Husten.
Ja, egal. Hat auch kein Codein. Das war ein Drehbuchentwurf aus Cheech und Chong Teil 7. Müssen wir auch mal, wie keine Produzenten gefunden haben.
So scheiße, dass es schon wieder gut war.
Oh, es ist ja... Ja, das gefällt mir. Ich habe das Gefühl, dass der Effekt weg ist, bis der Gegner überhaupt erscheint.
Hi. Ich bin der Typ, den du immer triffst. Siehst du?
Hm? Ja, leider. Das Statistische Bundesamt hat angerufen und gesagt, das macht den Kohl nicht fett, Feuer. Das war die richtige Entscheidung. Das ist das beste Fenster.
Wie langsam er aufsteht, siehst du, es ist, als ob er mich provoziert.
Er will dich erniedrigen einfach noch. Er will das auskosten. Ja. Was? Ist nicht gestaggert?
Wie schnell kam denn die Flamme?
Ja. Safe. Okay. Das sieht gut aus. Das sieht sehr gut aus. Das 8 Flasks.
Ich hab gedrückt, Alter. Er hat nichts gemacht.
Ja, das ist, ich sag ja, das Fenster ist, das war ein Tacken zu spät. Das ist... nicht so leicht, ne? Mit dem...
Ich weiß überhaupt nicht, wie ich das jemals zu Hause geschafft habe. Ich verstehe es nicht. Ich verstehe das nicht. Was ist denn damals richtig gelaufen? Ich verstehe das einfach nicht!
Das ging mir mit der scheiß Dragon Armor so. 2. Versuch oder 3. Versuch maximal. Und mit Ben hier komplette 2-Stunden-Sendung in Schande verbracht, möchte ich noch dazu erwähnen. Nein! Oh Gott!
Also,
so.
Also wäre ich jetzt zu Hause, würde ich jetzt locker 3-4 Stunden lang Seelen farmen
Ja.
und mich hochleveln.
Das machen wir auch. Irgendwann.
Können wir nicht irgend so ein... Weiß ich nicht, in China kann man da nicht so Leute anheuern, die einen hochleveln in World of Warcraft oder so? Oder nicht so... Kommt 20 Euro und 30 Level oder sowas.
Gefuchtel in der Luft. Schalt ihn halt! Ich muss. Geht mir doch. Ich weiß, ein schönes Fenster, aber. Okay, jetzt. Mist! Aber egal.
Ein bisschen zu früh. Man muss echt später, als man denkt bei der Attacke.
Oh, das war Glück. Das war gut.
Ja, das habe ich schon festgestellt. Bei seinen Swings nach hinten weg. Das habe ich jetzt auch realisiert. Der nächste Schlag müsste das länger sein.
Überrasch mich doch mal wieder mit frischen Attacken, du blödes Schwein. Alter Schweinereiter. Oder einfach mit Positionen, wo man dich nicht finden kann. Du Arsch. Okay. 1.
Jetzt Stagger.
Warte. Danke, großzügige Programmierung.
Yes! Nice,
Okay.
gerade noch.
Okay, die erste Phase kriegen wir hin. Wenn er dir aus dem Bild fliegt, dann musst du einfach um 180 Grad drehen. Dann hast du fast immer, also er ist fast immer 180 Grad hinter dir. Das hat zumindest gerade in 80% der Fälle.
Heil dich doch.
Okay, er wird. Okay, jetzt ist Halbzeit.
Zweimal heilen können.
Okay. Jetzt muss ich einmal heilen. Schade. Das war der.
Super.
Nicht gierig werden. Okay, alles gut.
Oh, Stagger!
Ich kann, er macht es doch nicht! Oh, wie gemein! Kennst du das Gefühl, wenn man denkt, genau die Attacken, die er nicht machen soll?
Der Kick.
Er macht ihn doch nicht! Er drückt panisch auf dem fucking Pad rum! Und was macht er? Er tritt!
Ich will nicht mehr.
Ich hoffe doch auch, dass du es jetzt einfach packst und wir die Scheiße abhaken können.
Ich will nicht mehr. Mann. Oh, gleich keine Ember mehr. Und dann können wir nicht mal mehr welche kaufen.
Dieses einmal mehr und du sagst noch, er macht dreimal. Aber er kombiniert das manchmal auch so, dass es schon fast so ein Fünfer ist dann.
No one can hide from my sight.
Ich habe aber das Gefühl, mit der Auszug für meinen Teil, ich komme damit klar. Ja, ich weiß, dass ich tot bin. Schalt halt um.
Je ne vais plus te lâcher.
10 seconds
Rezin. Nee, Ritalin. Wenn Heulen in Lachen übergeht. Und umgekehrt.
Wenn das eine Ehefrau wäre, wenn Dark Souls 3 eine Ehefrau wäre, wäre jetzt so der Zeitpunkt der Scheidung. Also richtiger Scheidungskrieg.
Das Problem ist, du schlägst sie grün und blau und wieder zurück. Und trotzdem willigt sie nicht in die Scheidung ein, weißt du?
Sie unterschreibt einfach nicht.
Die grinst dich noch an und sagt, ja komm halt.
Das wäre jetzt ein richtiger Sorgerechtsstreit hier. Das ist,
ja. Sir Edward Denslin versus Nameless King. Ja, genau! Dieser Tritt! Okay, alles cool. Alles wieder auf Nullen. Emotionen Nullen. Das war der berühmte ein bisschen zu früh. So, jetzt cool bleiben und wieder alles nach Plan machen.
Schön. Jetzt kommt der
Er hat keine Zeit mehr.
Doch nicht.
Nee.
Ah.
Ich sehe. Okay. Naja, schade. Jetzt hatte ich gehofft, mein unkontrolliertes Rollen hätte wenigstens den Effekt gehabt, aus dieser scheiß Zone raus zu sein. So, das war gut.
Da ist der Stagger. Schwierig werden.
Nee. Ich habe fälschlicherweise gerade, ich habe einen Umschaltfehler gemacht, hast du wahrscheinlich gesehen. Ja, das ist mit Abstand das beste Fenster. Weil da kannst du sogar dreimal schlagen im Idealfall. Aber so. Umschalten. Also ich habe gerade gedacht, man muss definitiv früher rollen.
Aber dann catcht er dich wie so ein Magnet. Den solltest du nicht blocken, ich verstehe das nicht.
Ja, das Problem ist...
Warum rollst du den nicht? Den Fehler machst du jetzt wirklich jedes Mal. Ich meine, es ist bescheuert, wenn ich jetzt hier klug scheiße, weil ich krieg gar nichts gebacken, aber das heißt nicht, dass meine Analyse falsch ist. Genau. Gar keinen Grund da zu blocken.
Das war Glück.
Ja, der ist... Oh.
Aber zum Glück, fairerweise, war ich noch nicht oben.
Du hast genug Stamina, um 5-6 Mal hintereinander zu blocken, zu rollen. Also so gut waren wir noch nie.
Okay.
Schön, Colin.
Stagger!
Okay, Hälfte down. Jetzt kommt die zweite Phase von dem Bastard.
Alter! Ich hab's vergessen.
Nicht jetzt in Blocken. Heil dich doch. Warum heilst du dich denn nicht?
Weil ich mich jetzt heile. Und nochmal heile.
Und weiter beim Rollen bleiben. Nicht jetzt in Staggerei. Genau.
Ah.
Und rollen. Genau. Ganz cool bleiben. Alles gut, alles gut.
Trau mich nicht.
Nee, muss ja auch nicht. Warte. Rolli.
Macht weniger Attacken, aber vielleicht will er mich auch nur in Sicherheit wiegen gerade.
Roll mal Richtung Waffenhand. Sehr gut, jetzt hau. Weg, weg, weg.
Sehr gut. Das ist ziemlich, glaube ich, in dem Moment, wo er...
Konzentrier dich. 2, ja. Ja, hab ich nicht erwischt. Jetzt packst du ihn, Colin. Oh oh.
Okay, noch bin ich nicht tot. Jetzt rolle ich ganz schnell nach hinten. Komm, kann man nicht jetzt mich im Arsch verarschen.
Alles gut, alles gut. Mach mal 5 Schläge noch.
Ja. Muss mich konzentrieren. Mein Daumen rutscht fast von dem Joypad ab.
Alles gut.
Biet mir was an! Ach, falsche Attacke.
Alles
ja,
gut.
falsch antizipiert.
Rollen. Heilen.
Ja, war leider gerade aus dem...
Okay, eine Flask hast du noch. Jetzt musst du auch mal wieder angreifen. Hau ihn. Ja.
Okay.
Nicht langsam ausprobieren. Jetzt hauen.
1, 2,
Ein noch.
3! Ja! Du dummes Schwein! Wieder Overload. Ich habe es gerade... Okay. Oh. Zu viel Sauerstoff. Die Angst, dass hier eine Ader platzt und du nie wieder arbeiten kannst.
Danke.
Ich danke dir. Du hast gesagt, endlich. War gar nicht so schwer.
Ich weiß auch nicht, warum wir uns so angestellt haben, ehrlich gesagt.
Ja, sollte halt spannend sein. Ja, und da hatten wir uns ja vorgenommen. Lass uns das bis zum Ende wie ein guter Film. Aber wir sind noch an. Das ist schön.
Zeig mal ein bisschen.
Ja, ich drück nicht. Ich drück nicht hektisch.
Meine Bell. Das zeigt. Na gut.
Halt mein Puls.
Alter Schwede, ey. Gut, Colin. Wow.
Ich weiß genau, ob er gewartet hätte. Musste auch irgendwie sein. Oh, ich hab vergessen. Verdammt.
Was? Was?
Ringe umzuschalten für mehr Seelenausbeute.
Ja, ist egal.
Aber jetzt auch nicht mehr. Das kommt, glaube ich, jetzt zu schnell. Das heißt?
Obwohl doch, kannst du mal... Nein, die Seelen kommen erst, wenn du das Ding berührst.
Bist du sicher?
Ziemlich.
Ja, dann machen wir das doch.
Nee.
Ja, Mist. Ja. Okay. Das kenne ich nämlich noch aus. Was hatten wir vorher drin? War das der Havel? Nee, den hatten wir ja noch.
Der Pavel.
Pavels Ring. Jesus,
Da oben rechts ist er doch.
Ja, ich kann mich nicht... Ich stehe noch ganz neben mir. Was mit den Worten meiner Freundin zu sagen.
So, kann so ein paar Items einsammeln.
Aber erstmal schön hocken. Hier ist auch keine Gefahr, oder? Die uns...
Nee.
Alles klar. Das Schöne ist, dass es so ein typisches Gebiet, da wünscht man sich immer, ne, wie bei vielen Gebieten, dass es hier noch weitergeht, ne? Weil es irgendwie noch einem so das Gefühl gibt, da geht's jetzt zum Thronsaal oder so.
Ja, aber das ist ja bei Dark Souls ist es ja immer wünscht, dass es noch ein Stück weiter geht.
Ja, das stimmt. Aber manchmal bieten sich die Gebiete quasi auch so an dafür.
Also ganz fein gemacht, Colin. Muss ich dich wirklich mal loben. Das war ganz stark.
Du, ich kenne ja dieses Gefühl, wenn man sich fragt, warum macht er denn nicht das? Das ist, weil man selber geistig am Joypad sitzt. Aber es ist, manchmal ist das auch nicht ganz so einfach. Also gerade wenn man dann denkt, jetzt hätte er doch. Und dann denkst du selber, okay, ich habe noch einen Futzel Energie, also Stamina.
Man ist ja in so einem Rhythmus drinne irgendwie gefangen, aus dem man manchmal gar nicht so ausbrechen kann.
Ja, und gerade ging es auch. Also ich hatte auch so ein bisschen innerlich dieses Gefühl, das ist, genau, so ein bisschen, natürlich als ich dann nur noch eine Flask da hatte, dann dachte ich schon wieder, okay, das könnte vielleicht doch nochmal sehr eng werden. Und vor allem, weil der so arrogant lang und großkotzig vor einem herlief, ne? Und ich weiß jetzt nicht, wo die Items liegen. Hinten, oder?
Ich weiß gar nicht, ob da noch was liegt.
Gibt's noch ein Item? Und so vor einem herläuft. Und man möchte die ganze Zeit mal so einen kleinen Schlag setzen. Aber du weißt, der Konter wird kommen. Da ist es. Und der Konter wird dich richtig hardcore fertig. Hier ist es, glaube ich, Verbindung, ne? Die letzte.
So, jetzt fehlt nur noch der letzte. Darfst du auch gleich machen. Nee.
Geht das nicht?
Nee. Jetzt musst du erst den Typ machen.
Stimmt, das ist so Oh,
und da rechts ist noch ein Typ jetzt, der Beschwörte, ne?
Mhm. Aber hier ist auch noch der Beschwörer. ist der? Da hinten
80.000
steht er.
Seelen.
Ist er unten? Komm, weißt du was? Ne? Was soll's? Was soll's denn? Aber noch so eine Folge, wie mit der Dragon Slayer Armor, wo du eine komplette Folge anbietest und am Ende stirbt der Gegner nicht. Hätte ich nicht nochmal ertragen für meine Moral, weißt du? Und dann zu sehen, wie ihr nach 3, 4 Versuchen ich bin jetzt zittrig hier. So, was ist denn jetzt da noch sinnvoll? Ich glaube, Strength, da sind wir uns einig.
Ja, also ich finde ja, man könnte auch ruhig mal die Vitality ein bisschen hoch machen. Ich finde die sehr niedrig, das wäre einfach mal geilere Rüstung.
Sehr niedrig.
Ich sogar nur ein Level dafür.
Also dafür, dass wir so auf Tank und auf Strength setzen, ist das vollkommen richtig.
Das fand ich ja fast bei Dark Souls 1 am besten, wo das ist, glaube ich, noch mit Strength mitgelevelt ist. War das so? Oder bei Demon's Souls?
Ja.
Das haben sie erst später eingeführt, dass es einen extra Wert gibt, nur für die, also wo du die Rüstlast extra hochlevelst. Ich glaube, bei Demon's Souls war das noch nicht so. Das heißt, wenn du ein Strength-Bild hattest, also jemand, der stark ist, der kann halt auch eine schwere Rüstung anziehen. Das hat für mich irgendwie mehr Sinn gegeben.
Ja, total. Bin ich voll bei dir. Also ich meine, die denken sich ja schon was dabei, was die mit was skalieren lassen oder verbinden. Da gab es ja immer mal so Kleinigkeiten, die auf den ersten Blick, denkst du, es ist immer dasselbe System, aber tatsächlich stimmt schon. Das sind dann so Kleinigkeiten, die dann doch Auswirkungen haben.
Also
aber das zeigt auch, dass die sich ja selber nie so richtig einig sind oder hinterher vielleicht sagen,
reicht nicht.
Das finde ich eigentlich ganz spannend. Ich würde gerne mal in solchen Diskussionsrunden sein. Reicht das jetzt? Wo die so debattieren, die Pros und Kontras. Das ist ja unglaublich spannend, sowas.
Dieses einfach das... Doch, reicht.
Okay, dann haben wir jetzt... Ich weiß gar nicht, wie viel Zeit wir noch haben, ehrlich. Obwohl... Eigentlich ist sogar jetzt...
Echt jetzt? Komplett?
Das ist aber... Ja, dann ist wohl das heißt, wir haben jetzt nur noch einen Bossgegner. Also nicht einen, sondern den Bossgegner zu legen. Also du meinst jetzt hier, heute, das jetzt?
Das ist schon zu Ende. Das haben wir noch gar nichts gemacht. Wir waren ja nur bei einem Boss.
Das stimmt. Aber auch nicht bei irgendeinem Boss. Das sei auch nochmal zu Ehrenrettung gesagt. Ja, dann würde ich sagen... Ja, dann
sehen wir uns wohl nochmal wieder, aber erst wieder nächste Woche.
Genau.
Wahrscheinlich. Zurzeit ist das hier produktionstechnisch ein bisschen schwierig. Wir sind froh, dass wir diese Woche ein kleiner durchgenommen abliefern konnten und nächste Woche dann vermutlich aber wirklich mit der letzten Folge. Und dann folgt natürlich noch Tag der freien Schelle. Da werdet ihr aber natürlich nochmal informiert, wann und wie das alles abläuft.
Ja.
Ne? So.
Genau.
Dir gebührt der Abschied. Das ist deine Folge.
Ich möchte mich nochmal bedanken bei meiner Mutter, dass du mich immer so hast spielen lassen.
Ein Haar.
Ein Haar? Ja, das ist
eine kleine Fusi.
Ein Goldhaar. Dass du mich immer so viel hast spielen und trainieren lassen. Das hat ja teilweise was gebracht, zumindest. Ne? Aber die haben auch den C64 weggenommen.
Warum?
Weil ich irgendwann mal in der Schule lernen sollte, ne, in einer Phase. Ich ging doch nicht meiner Mutter diesen Dank. Denn wenn du mir den C64 nicht weggenommen hättest, dann wäre das vielleicht jetzt auch viel schneller gegangen. Naja, egal. Vielen Dank. Bis nächstes Mal.
Locked and loaded.
Bastion is sleeping.
Herzlich willkommen zu Knallhart durchgenommen Edmund Densel. Heute die vermutlich letzte Folge dieser bahnbrechenden Serie. Und da verspreche ich nicht zu viel, denn ich bin optimistisch, dass wir das heute schaffen. Für mich auch die letzte Chance, Colin, nochmal einen Boss zu legen.
Das stimmt. Denn letzter Boss ist Programm. Wir haben nur noch einen Boss. Ja. Also den finalen Superboss. Das die Wurzel allen Übels oder auch nicht, je nachdem, wie gut man sich mit der Lore auskennt oder auch nicht. Ich tue es nicht. Letztes Mal Nameless King gerockt und jetzt ist halt die Frage, was man macht. Wir können natürlich noch ein bisschen. Ach komm, erstmal zum Boss. Ne? Wir können noch ein bisschen leveln hier und da.
Ja, wir können ja einfach erstmal gucken, wie wir so ein Benchmark. Erstmal gucken, wie wir überhaupt abschneiden. Wieso können wir denn eigentlich hier noch keine Slaps kaufen? Das müsste doch eigentlich auch gehen.
Ich glaube, wir haben noch nicht alles, längst nicht alles in Asche gefunden und gegeben.
Ich dachte, die Drachenasche ist die letzte, die Slaps gibt.
Ja, aber ich glaube, guck mal, uns fehlen auch bestimmte Pfeile, die ich ziemlich sicher immer hier gekauft habe in meinem Privatspiel.
Wir haben sehr schludrig durchgespielt.
Ja, definitiv. Also knallhart.
Wir haben noch einen Slap im Gepäck auf jeden Fall. Das haben wir oben gekriegt beim Drachen. Wir können mal gucken, in welche Richtung uns. Also wir können zum Beispiel das Fire Dark Sword auf 10 machen. Ne? Wir haben sogar 3 Slaps, guck mal. Wir haben 3 Slaps.
Das kann man machen.
Das auf jeden
Also
Fall.
so verschiedene Elemente.
Zack, das ist schon mal auch für den Tag der freien Stelle nicht unwichtig. So, dann haben wir noch die Machete.
Wie war eigentlich in der Vergangenheit die Tage der freien Stelle? Waren das, sagen wir mal, die prozentuale Verteilung von Siegen und Niederlagen? Ja, tatsächlich.
Also, vielleicht ein bisschen mehr Richtung Community. Das liegt aber auch daran, dass Dennis nicht gut PvP kann.
Ja, aber Dennis ist ja generell auch nicht so gut in dem Spiel.
Nee, das stimmt.
Tut sich ja immer sehr schwer. Gerade bei Bossgegnern und so.
Was ist denn das?
Kannst du nicht angucken.
Die Large Club?
Das ist, glaube ich, der, mit dem ihr ganz lang, wo Dennis und du große Erfolge gehabt habt.
Den mag ich auch sehr gerne. Aber wo ist denn die Machete? Achso, die haben wir schon.
Ja, genau.
Ja, dann.
Wir können ja. Also. Zum Hintergrund, das ist ja jetzt kein Spoiler, das Spiel ist ja nicht vorbei, wenn man den Bossgegner legt. Also es ist so wie mindestens im vergangenen Teil ja auch, dass man aktiv sagen kann, willst du jetzt direkt anfangen oder du kannst auch jederzeit ein neues, das gute alte MG Plus starten und kann halt noch ein bisschen rumgucken und ein bisschen rumziehen und keine Ahnung, was man noch machen möchte dann. Vielleicht nämlich noch tatsächlich möglichst viele Steine kaufen, die wir ja nach und nach freigeschaltet haben, wenn man ein neues Spiel startet. Und diese ganzen Errungenschaften, die Aschen, die man gegeben hat, Schlüssel, die man gegeben hat, die sind alle.
Sollen wir das Fume Ultra Great Sword leveln?
Ich habe noch nie damit gekämpft, aber warum nicht? Ich bin Zeit, halt ist noch nicht da.
Letzter Teil. So.
Ich hab noch einen
Slap drauf oder was?
Ja, sicher.
Und den auch noch slappen?
Also, ja. Vielleicht.
Oder sollen wir den Entschuldigung. Sollen wir den Slap vielleicht? Ja.
Den Slap in was? Ein Slap haben wir jetzt noch, ne?
Einen haben wir noch.
Wenn mit Speeren haben wir gar nichts mehr.
Also sehr viel mehr haben wir auch noch nicht hochgelevelt. Der wäre halt noch 2 Level. Also ein Slap und 4 Chunks, dann wäre der auch auf Max.
Ja, oh Gott, warum nicht? Oder ist das jetzt, na gut, nochmal so eine schwere Waffe, wenn wir jetzt den Machete schon haben?
Ja gut, dann vertage ich das erstmal. Aber ich meine, es ist halt die letzte Folge. Also wir werden das ja nicht im NG Plus durchspielen.
Nein.
Guck mal, jetzt haben wir natürlich Fat Roll, weil die Waffe natürlich trocken ist.
Ja gut, wir haben letztes Mal halt eine passende Ausstattung für den Nameless King gesucht. Wenn sie sich gut anfühlen. Aber 93% der Items.
Ja, also ansonsten.
Gegen das Fußvolk? Gegen das ordentliche.
Was heißt Fußvolk?
Ja,
das ist ja schon nun, das ist schon anspruchsvolles Fußvolk.
Ja,
Ne?
also. Auch gut Punkte. Ich glaube, wir haben den Yellow, also den silbernen Schlangenring und das Shield of Wand. Also schon mal 2 von mehreren möglichen Items, um ordentlich EP-Bonus zu bekommen.
hat ihn direkt zu Boden gestreckt, ne?
Das Schlimme ist nur, wenn der dich mit einer fiesen so einer Kombi-Bewegung dann kontert, dann ist
Science will reveal the truth.
Wie haut die denn? Das ist natürlich auch nur ein dummer Stich. Auch nur
ja, so
von
ein schöner
oben.
Wedlerwert, ne?
Sowas hier, ne?
Ja.
Besser.
Ich glaub, also hau doch mal links auf die beiden Nervensägen mit den Armbrüsten.
Naja, das ist halt das Problem, ne? 3 Schläge nicht gereicht haben. Nee. Immer ist irgendwas mit Hammer.
That changes my thinking.
Alles?
Sieht quasi fabrikneu aus. Können wir noch ohne Kassen machen.
Ich leg die jetzt mal hier so neben mich, Regie. Ich sitze auch nicht drauf, auch wenn ihr das immer wieder denkt. Ich sitze nicht drauf. Ja, ich bin nach wie vor der Meinung, wir haben halt Equip das sträflich
Dann
vernachlässigt.
lass uns doch noch 1, 2 Level da reinballern.
There was a flaw in my approach.
My ultimate is charging.
Ist halt langsam.
Ja, das war jetzt gerade aufgeladene R2-Attacke. Ja, extrem.
Restoring you.
Der Schwinger ist einhändig R1.
Ach, das ist banal.
Surrender to my will.
Don't worry, I got it.
Die sind natürlich sehr undankbar in Fat Roll, die Typen.
We must all make sacrifices in the name of science.
Ja, ich bin schon... Das aber den Block nicht, also das so ein Kick, ne? Den Block aufmacht.
Den mal jetzt schön aufladen und da rein lassen.
Ja, komm halt.
There was a flaw in my approach.
Och komm.
One shot, one kill.
Score 0-1.
Nein, aber ich hab ja... Hier. Bin mehr. Ja.
Gut, dass wir da einen Slap reingesteckt haben.
Ja, man muss ja erstmal damit. Ja,
Es ist die letzte Folge. Wir haben halt auch 93% Equip-Load. Es ist auch.
Das ist schon. Man kann ja mal ein bisschen rumprobieren. Ist ja nicht, dass wir. Zumindest kann ich mich nicht erinnern, aber nicht so richtig viel gemacht. Ne? Einfach mal ein bisschen verschiedene Waffen, Movesets.
Ja, auch noch. Guck mal, die Skate sogar mit S.
Ja, benutzt es doch mal.
Guck mal, eigentlich braucht man kein Schild mehr mit der, weil die halt auch sogar eigentlich ganz gut ist.
Ich hab die noch gar nie benutzt. Entschuldigung.
Guck mal auf.
Das ist Stevia. Ja, sorry, es war ein Haufen.
The objective is now
eine Hilfsrune legen. Ne? Ich sag's nur. Dann kann man sich die Zeit manchmal ein bisschen schön verbringen mit. Das ist halt mal ein ganz schlechtes Teil. Wer es so weit geschafft hat in der Königsgarde.
Das ist ein anderer Schnack, ne? Das ist halt auch noch Stunt mit Feuer.
Taking the objective. A little help would be appreciated.
Dankeschön. Weg. Uiuiuiui.
Oh, jetzt kommt's aber ganz schnell mit den Schildern.
Was denn für eine Rasselbande hier?
Jetzt tun sie alle so, also ich will ihn töten, Annie. Sonst sneaken sie sich da so super nervlangsam.
My ultimate, no my trick.
Stell einfach hin, danke. Oh.
Ah, das ist natürlich, ja klar, wenn ihr es beide, das ist nicht gut. Aber zumindest liegen da oben die Seelen in der guten.
Attack the objective and die.
Ich hab auch gerade, ich hab das quasi jetzt, wollte ich, aber hab ich nicht getan. Deswegen kann ich auch nicht. Ach, so great.
Was redest du da? Was ist letztes Mal bei dir?
Lang her. Er ist gar nicht so lang her.
It's lang her. It's long hair. Verstehst du? Long hair.
Naja, gut. Ich muss mal wieder. Aber ich finde, das Frisur ist halt das Schlimmste. Ich trage diese Frisur in minimalen Variationen, ja. Seit vielen, vielen Jahren. Und je älter man wird, desto schwerer tut man sich auch mit verändern.
Ich weiß, ich hab's ja jetzt versucht mit dieser langen Haare.
Ich fand es gar nicht richtig.
Ja, es ist irgendwie, ich weiß nicht, es war so ein Ding. Ich weiß nicht, ich habe mich nicht wohl gefühlt, aber ich fühle mich auch jetzt nicht wohl. Ich trage nur noch Mützen, habe ich mich entschlossen. Es ist einfach. Ich glaube, man muss einfach irgendwann auch.
Meinst du, das Mützen sind jetzt das Altersgerechte sozusagen?
Ja, man muss irgendwann vielleicht auch einfach sich eingestehen, dass man den Kampf verloren hat da oben. Das bringt ja auch alles nichts.
Ah,
da ist halt einfach.
Gefällt mir nicht. Ich mag deine. Aber hast du denn so, ist es denn so, dass es quasi eine. Oh Gott! Ah, ja, ist ein zögerliches Reaktionsverkehr. Nein. Hast du denn so mit den Problemen des Alters zu kämpfen?
Ich habe neulich so ein paar Fotos gesehen, das war irgendeine Weihnachtsfeier von Giga. Da waren wir auch zusammen auf dem Foto. Und Nils und Dennis. Und dann habe ich mal so unsere einzelnen Haare so analysiert.
Ach was.
Ja, und da habe ich halt festgestellt, dass du auf jeden Fall von uns Vieren noch am besten davon gekommen bist.
Haartechnisch?
So. Ja.
Das glaubst aber auch nur du.
Doch. Bei allen anderen ist doch der Haaransatz deutlich wie Ebbe und Flut so zurückgegangen. Oh, wir müssen Werbung machen. Also wirklich so wie so eine Welle, die nach vorne kommt und zurückgeht. Nach vorne kommt, zurückgeht. Irgendwann kommt sie aber nicht mehr nach... Ja, gut, trotzdem. Du brauchst ja um zu kaschieren. Also.
Ja, gut, aber das macht man mit länger. So, jetzt machen wir kurz Werbung, bevor wir uns weiter in diesen unangenehmen, selbstkasteienden Bereichen hier...
Nein, es ist auch ein wichtiges Thema, das muss auch mal besprochen
muss auch gesagt werden. Tabufrei, ne?
Natürlich. So, wir machen jetzt noch ganz kurz Werbung. Versteck dich, wir machen Werbung und dann sind wir gleich wieder zurück.
Traveling to Hanami.
Ich konnte mich nicht so gut verstecken, wie ich wollte. Deswegen wird hier weiterhin geschlachtet. Ah, das ist schnell, aber die Reichweite von diesem kleinen Kackschwert ist halt einfach nicht gut. Einmal mehr Stamina müssen wir noch haben. Weißt du dann?
Das sagst du ja immer, aber da bin ich nicht von überzeugt. Wir sind übrigens zurück, Freunde der Nacht.
Nein, keine Sorge, so weit wird es nicht kommen.
Gegen einen alleine sollte man natürlich auch nicht sterben.
Aber es ist trotzdem dieses... Ich bin noch nicht begeistert. Also die Reichweite von dem Schwert. Das ist auch schnell. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kann man machen. Und der Schaden ist auch in Ordnung. Aber... Ist schön, ist extra zurückgegangen, weil er unbedingt noch die Barriere kaputt machen wollte.
Just a scratch, you'll be fine.
Die haben eine unglaubliche Range auch mit den Armbrust.
Ja, also ich meine, bis wohin willst du denn jetzt wegrennen?
So, das Idealfall nicht, aber nie.
You're powered out. Get in there.
Ja, das ist genau.
Also zum Aufwerten ist es ja auch nicht der beste.
Nee, es ist aber ein schöner Ort, um zwischendurch, wenn man eben zum Beispiel kooperativ wartet.
Also mein Mikro ist doch.
Nanoboost is charging.
Thanks.
Take your medicine.
Kannst du jetzt mal sterben? Ich will zocken, bitte.
Ja.
Alles jetzt hier irgendwie nichts halbes und nichts.
Ach, wir kommen, gehen gleich mit. Guck mal, wie viel ist das? Ein Level.
Nanoboost almost ready.
Diesen spannenden. Kann jetzt mal wenigstens einer. Also wir können ja da sterben. Ich habe nicht vor, dass ich es bin.
Wo dann die Seelen? Da müsste man alles nochmal machen. Nur um die Seelen zu sehen. Aber jetzt hau ihn doch einfach auch mal um. Ja, also.
Bam, 2, 3.
You're powered out. Get in there.
Eins, das rausziehen. Ja.
This will help.
Bevor ein Untouchable den Heldentod stirbt.
Kommen wir Knife to the Fist Fight?
Nee, wo er doch mit einer Knarre steht doch mit seiner Shotgun, lacht dann vermeintlich über den Idioten, der ihn umbringen will, und dann steht so im Hintergrund er. Ich glaube, Frank nicht.
So, ja, dann sag doch nicht James Bond.
Hab ich doch gar nicht gesagt.
Natürlich hast du James Bond
nee,
gesagt.
guck ich mir nochmal im Stream an, ob ich wirklich James Bond gesagt habe. Du hast verstanden, du hörst, was du hören möchtest.
Du hast an Sean Connery gedacht und hast James Bond gesagt. Das ist die fucking Wahrheit.
Umgekehrt. Ich habe Sean Connery gesagt und du hast an James Bond gedacht. Aber vielleicht ist es. Wie hat mir meine Freundin auch ab. So, wollen wir jetzt mal hier das Footload-Ding machen?
Ja.
Schon mal einmal. War auch schön. Ist alles schön. Was wollen wir denn jetzt tun? Wollen wir jetzt dahin gehen, wo wir hin müssen, oder? Ja.
Ja, aber ich will den. Aber du kannst. Nee, du bist ja dran. Aber ich meine, vielleicht schaffst du es beim ersten Mal.
30 seconds remaining.
My ultimate is ready. Let's work together.
Just a scratch, you'll be
ist auch schon
In den
was
letzten
da.
Zonen offensichtlich. Doch.
Kann man das von hinten legen?
Ja, haben wir schon.
Your power down. Get in there.
Ja, das schon gemacht.
Was sag ich denn? Die Hauptrolle hast du einfach mal. Das ist so. Ich bin auch deshalb alleine zu Hause viel besser.
Weil du so spielen kannst, wie du meinst, ne? Das verstehe ich.
Ihn haben wir noch, das Quest haben wir noch nicht gemacht.
So war es ja. Hallo? The Lords of Cinder. Was hat er denn für eine...
Now invade and if you come on, give yourself.
Traveling to
Hat er eine richtige, komplette Questline?
Prepare to attack.
Wie sieht die aus?
Select your hero.
Willst du machen?
Was soll denn? Wir können
Weiß
auch
ich
erstmal
dann-
den Boss gegen- Aber das können wir doch danach noch machen, oder?
Das
vielleicht
weiß ich nicht.
Wie sieht die denn aus? Spoiler mir mal.
Ja, da musst du gegen den kämpfen bei in Rosarios Bedchamber.
Ach so.
Wie ging das nochmal? Ich glaube, ich weiß nicht, ob du sie killen musst oder.
With the Lord, and let the Lord's members acknowledge thee as their true heir, a true Lord, fit to link the fire.
So.
Ach, warum können die denn nicht einfach immer diese Spiele machen?
Never
Ja,
stop
lass mal
fighting
Schluss,
for
halt
what you
einfach kurz
believe
machen.
in.
May the flame.
Wir geben ihr nicht die Augen, ne?
Habt ihr eure Handys an? Fragt die Regie.
Ich habe mein Handy, glaube ich, nicht mehr dabei.
Wieso wollt ihr uns anrufen?
Ich hab keine Ahnung.
Die haben immer noch Tonstörung, glaube ich. Also ich habe mein Handy an, ja. Ich kann das aber auch gerne mal in Schluss machen, aber es war die letzten Jahre nie ein Problem.
I'm ready to kill. And the Lords go without thrones.
Vielleicht ist hier irgendwas im Raum, das stört. Ich vermute, es ist Colin.
Ich hab mir schon gedacht, dass...
Ja, der war ein bisschen mit Ansage.
Ja, aber trotzdem. Das ist ganz gut, wie die musische Einlage
Ja, pst. Da sehen wir nämlich jetzt die Flames
3, 2,
von dem Thron.
1. Attack commences. Capture objective A.
Get back in.
Noch eine andere Musik hier fürs Nexus machen, ne?
Hätten wir machen können, meinst du?
Mhm.
Ja, so ein bisschen... Habe ich auch gedacht. Gut Schleimwürfel, ja. Ich hab das getan. Deswegen bin ich froh, dass wir einen anderen
I have your back.
Killing of the first flame.
Killing of the first flame.
I need healing.
Kann man sich übrigens sparen hier an.
The enemy has a teleporter.
Attack the objective.
Du hast ja auch die Augen gesehen.
Ich habe sie nicht umgebracht.
Ich hab die auch nicht umgebracht. Das war irgendwie, ich dachte, erst geht's weiter und dann plötzlich.
Healer.
Ach, zeig das mal.
Ultimate is fully charged. Get your power down. Get in there.
Das ist aber immer so. Das fand ich auch schon bei Dark Souls 1. Der Weg zum Grin. Durch dieses zerstörte.
Taking the objective.
Ja, so eine Anlehnung daran auch. Ja.
This will help.
Inception
Go, knocking down the objective.
Hast du ein bisschen was von der Stadt?
Keep out of my way.
Da gab es, also wo dieses Stadt ja auch schon ein bisschen versunken war und also diese schrägen Stege hat schon was.
No one can hide.
Das ist
But
das
at
Beste
my
noch von
position.
Bloodborne 2.
You're going to be okay.
Das Feuer.
Hab ich.
Nimm mal Ember. Denn, also ich muss jetzt nicht machen, aber theoretisch stehen hier jetzt diverse interessante, beschwörbare NPCs rum. Das hängt aber auch ein bisschen davon ab, wie man natürlich die Quests spielt.
Ja, wie viele sind hier? Also hier kommen mehrere noch.
Zwei mindestens. Nee, geh mal hoch weiter. Die kommen da noch.
My ultimate is
Ja,
ready.
hier rechts müsste eigentlich was sein irgendwo.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Wie gesagt, ein sehr gutes Game. Ja. Hier abgeliefert mit vielen Sachen, die wir nicht gemacht haben. Guck mal, hier rechts da an der Säule ist da nichts. Ja gut, das zeigt, dass wir die Quests nicht gut
I've
gespielt
come
haben.
back from worse.
Nicht. Nee.
Das ist tatsächlich, da ist was.
Das ist aber...
Rendezvous at my
Also, den
position.
kannst du mal platt machen. Ist das ein NPC? Ja, ne?
Ist das ein NPC? Kann man hier runterfallen? Weißt du das? Das ist
kein Mensch.
Aber der halt, der bewegt sich ein bisschen wie ein Mensch.
Healed up.
Ja genau, der hat Warriors of the Sunlight sind doch immer Menschen, oder? So.
Aber warum kann man
Keine.
Der macht die
And
Russen
you're
auf auf jeden Fall ein
coming
Mensch.
How you hand?
Warum war das
Move up
dann
at
immer
my
kein
position.
Du meinst keine
Invasion?
Invasion? Ich glaub, keine.
They're using a shield generator.
Wir haben übrigens für den Tag der freien Stelle fällt mir auf, haben wir echt
Nano
nicht
boost is
viel
charging.
Ember. Ne?
Rendezvous at my
Nee, wir
position.
müssen noch mal so einen Koop dann machen, irgendwie bei ein paar Bossgegnern, wo sich das lohnt, wo man ein paar bekommen kann.
Das ist die Frage, wie viele Bossgegner kann man auf einem gewissen Level dann
No one can hide from
Nee, wieso?
Aber meinst du, du musst ja nicht beschworen, wenn so hoch
They're using a shield generator.
Nee, das Kim-Pins ist hier wahrscheinlich auch.
Nano
Findest
boost
du
is
immer.
ready to deploy.
Immer jemanden.
Enemy turret here.
Man muss ja nicht gleich drücken. Oder Boreal, glaube ich, wahrscheinlich auch.
Das ist genau richtig. Ach, du hast das Silver Shield.
Ja.
Die mockt es auch. Sehr schön. Das hat freilich, das hat auch seine Schwächen, ne?
Ja, aber ist halt sehr schwer.
Ja, sicherlich, aber es ist auch ein tolles Schwert.
Gehen wir lieber zum Bossgegner.
Ich will den Camp, ich muss nicht rächen,
I'm not
Alter.
ready. Move up at
Hier
my
liegt halt
position.
original niemand zum Sammeln. Ja gut, dann mach ich den jetzt. Du hättest übrigens auch einfach reinrennen können.
They're using a shield generator.
Antaro ist aber ein echter Mensch.
Hello.
Antaro.
Das sieht auch mega nach Bloodborne-Bosskampf aus, findest du nicht?
Psst.
Touchdown. You look tired. يا علم الشطار.
Dinge hat.
Er ist sehr schwer
Ja,
einzuschätzen.
ganz schwer. Weil er unglaublich viele verschiedene Techniken drauf hat, die er auch nach einem mir nicht nachvollziehbar System anwendet. Wie noch dazu.
Come on. Reflexe eines vollgefressenen Elefanten. Man hört richtig, wie ich langsam... So viele unterschiedliche
Ja. Das ist so ein Best-of von verschiedenen Bossgegnern.
Oh shit, das ist der... Von dem sollte man sich nicht treffen lassen.
Get in there.
Schade, ne? Aus dem Rhythmus raus.
It'll take more than that to keep me out of the...
Play of the game.
Was mit dem Ender?
Nein. Ah, scheiße. Ich glaube, zu weit weg ist bei dem auch